Chapter 709. But she used to be the precious mist that everyone worshipped. Since when did she stop being like that? Jiang Zhao had a change of heart. Until now she still couldn't get over it. She couldn't understand. Yun Ye's looks were only above average. She was a little taller and had a good figure. Everything else was useless. Men were all cheap. They liked to throw themselves at others. They didn't want a compatible family background, but they chose a burden to show off their ability. At the end of the day, Jiang Zhao was a cheap man. Ouyang Yan's broken nervous system was on the verge of breaking down. Anger. Jiang Zhao had destroyed the last bit of her dignity. That man still couldn't figure out what the hell had transformed into. He was actually so sure that the child in her stomach wasn't his. What the hell had transformed into him? Originally she had only wanted to test him, but he had been so ruthless. At this time Ouyang Yan already thought that she was a broken pot. So, the more she thought about it, the more hideous her smile became. She slowly raised her head and looked at the phones and cameras. Her smile had a hint of insanity. She wanted to say, Jiang Zhao is my man, Jiang Zhao is my man. She wanted to destroy Jiang Zhao, this bastard. But she realized that the sounds were all unpleasant. Her voice. His mind, which was already in chaos, seemed to have received another heavy blow. The fragments in his brain overlapped. That's right. Last night that bastard cut off her tongue. At that time she was in so much pain that she almost died. But now it didn't hurt anymore. Was it really like what they said? Did they apply a lot of anesthetic on her? Her whole body trembled like a sieve. She sat on the ground and looked at the electronic products, screaming, "Ah! Those bastards! Humiliating people! Who else could it be other than Jiang Zhao? Jiang Zhao, I won't let you off even if I become a ghost." Hearing the sound of the police car in the distance approaching, Ouyang Yan suddenly jumped up and crazily rushed through the crowd. Her clothes were damaged and dirty. The crowd couldn't avoid her in time. The Ouyang Yan rushed to the road. A naked woman was walking on the road, sighing. Ouyang Yan knew that someone had called the police. She would not go to that kind of place. Grandpa was in that kind of place. She would not go. She would not go. If Grandpa knew about what happened last night, he would definitely be angered to death. He rushed towards the speeding police car with its siren blaring. The speed of the police car wasn't slow to begin with, and with the siren on, the other cars moved out of the way. The road was even wider, and the speed at which they rushed to the crime scene was even faster. Bang! A body abruptly slammed into the car and bounced 20 meters away. His originally broken body became even more mangled after crashing to the ground from the air. His eyes were looking in one direction, and there was a look of fear and unwillingness on his face. Even when he stopped twitching at the last moment, the unwillingness in his heart still didn't disappear. The scattered photos of beggars raping a woman were confiscated, and the police filed a case for investigation. Meanwhile, in Qiu Xiaoye's duplex apartment in Qingfeng Garden, Zhuang Yichen was on the phone in the living room. However, when the other party finished reporting, he frowned in dissatisfaction. She died just like that? Wasn't it too fast? She should have endured for another 2 days before dying. It seemed that he had overestimated her endurance. Boss, the police are investigating now. Did you leave any clues behind? No. Don't worry about that. Then let them investigate. Zhuang Yichen hung up the phone and looked at the clock on the wall. Actually, he should have gone to the hospital, but his relationship with Jiang Zhao wasn't that public yet. How could he visit Jiang Zhao's wife before they found out that she was injured? He wondered how Jiang Zhao was doing now. Actually, he wasn't this worried when Jiang Zhao was being investigated last time. However, when he called Jiang Zhao yesterday and heard the uncontrollable sobbing, he guessed that Jiang Zhao was probably on the verge of collapse. Zhuang Yichen returned to the bedroom. An inexplicable fear crept into his heart. He didn't like this kind of emotion. It only appeared in his dreams in the middle of the night. Where did it come from in broad daylight? Looking at the woman sleeping like a corpse on the bed, he couldn't fall asleep. He lifted the blanket and crawled under it. He hugged Xiaoye's waist and nuzzled her neck. Xiaoye. Yes. Your shop has reopened. Why aren't you as active as before? Xiaoye ignored him and continued sleeping. I like to sleep in. I used to be like this. I work at night as a designer. Don't you know? But you've been like this recently. Speaking of which, Wei had been reopened for so long, but she didn't seem to care at all. In the past, it was as if she had been injected with chicken blood for the sake of Wei. Xiaoye's eyes were still closed. She muttered impatiently, "Why should I work so hard? If you want me to make money, you can move your finger and I'll be full of money." If you want me to die, you can move your finger and I'll be back to square one night. I'll be exhausted to death. Zhuang Yichen was slightly stunned. He heard the woman's even breathing. In the past, she wouldn't have dared to speak to him with such an attitude. However, she was smart. Just because she didn't think of it in the beginning didn't mean that she wouldn't think of it later. It seemed that she had already guessed that her debt and the closure of the shop were manipulated by him. Although she didn't point it out, her attitude was clearly protesting against him in a negative way. Then, are you going to stay at home every day? Don't you find it annoying? He always felt that women should find something to do. Otherwise, they would lose some of their brilliance. When she asked him to help her with her career, he really felt like his eyes had lit up. After all, she was only 21 years old at that time. How could a girl at that age have any ambition for her career? Now she was living in reverse. It's better if you get tired of me as soon as possible. Xiaoya just closed her eyes and answered casually and heartlessly. Zhuang Yichen's face darkened. Little demon Xiao. Get the F*CK up. The position of the sun continued to follow the trajectory of yesterday. It went from east to west, from dark to bright, and from bright to dark. However, the trajectory of a person was always different from yesterday. There was always a deviation. Yesterday he looked clean and tidy, but today he was unshaven. Yesterday he still had some hope. Today, as he looked at the door of the operating room, the thing in his heart that was as firm as a century-old tower began to shake with the movement of the earth's crust. Pieces of bricks and stones fell from the top of the tower. It was terrifying. Because he was afraid that the foundation of the tower would be overturned, Jiang Zhao held such feelings in his heart as he stared at the door of the operating room without blinking. He even suggested changing the chief surgeon. He was worried that the doctor would be tired. Most people wouldn't be able to withstand such a long operation, right? What if he wasn't careful? Bah. Jiang Zhao spat at his own thoughts in his heart. Jiang Zhao calmly considered the details. He even took the opportunity to, when there was a break in the operation, he went home and brought Yi Er's underwear, slippers, towel, iPad, and computer to the hospital. He said that the operation would be over by the time he came back from home. Before the operation was over, he shuttled back and forth between the operating room and the ward. Later, he would go back to the ward to check if the pillow was placed properly and if the blanket was lifted. If she came out, she couldn't put the blanket under her body. He even went back to the bedroom at home to take down the curtains and brought them to the hospital to hang them up. He felt that Yi Er would sleep better in a room with such curtains. After all, she was the one who chose those things, so it must be something she liked. He didn't let anyone help him. He actually hadn't done these things before, but when he did it, he was serious and immersed in it as if he had practiced it countless times. Qin Fian watched Jiang Zhao busy himself and didn't sleep the whole night. He followed behind Jiang Zhao and couldn't help at all. He was anxious and sad. The last time Yi Er was kidnapped, the operation didn't take so long. Jiang Zhao also didn't look for trouble like this. Qin Jin had already fallen asleep in the waiting room. She was really old and couldn't take it anymore. Jiang Zhao had just hung up the curtains when he started looking for a thermos to wash. Qin Fian grabbed Jiang Zhao's hand that was holding the thermos. His eyes reddened. Brother, don't wash it. You've already done it 3 times. Jiang Zhao was stunned. It was as if the strength in his hand was suddenly pulled away. With a ping sound, it fell to the ground, and the bladder inside was shaken to a ping sound. Jiang Zhao was jolted back to reality by the sound. He rubbed his forehead anxiously and was about to raise his wrist to look at his watch when he suddenly used his other hand to cover his face. He shook his head and saw the broken pieces on the ground. He had a sudden realization. He clasped his hands together and became more alert. The thermos is broken. I'll go to the supermarket to buy a new one. After saying that, he brushed past Qin Fian and left in a hurry. It was as if he was going to complete a very important and urgent task. Qin Fian's shoulders drooped. At this moment, he didn't dare to imagine what would happen if the person in the operating theater really died. Bah! Qin Fian raised his hand and hit his chin. Jiang Zhao had just left the building when Zhuang Yichen called. After a long time, he said hoarsely, "Hello." When Zhuang Yichen heard Jiang Zhao's voice, he couldn't help but pinch his eyebrows. "Brother Zhao, the matter has been settled. Ouyang Yin went crazy this morning and crashed her car to commit suicide. I just asked someone to send the news to Ouyang Sheng." When that old man heard the news, he suddenly had a cerebral hemorrhage. The resuscitation couldn't be done. Jiang Zhao raised his head and looked at the sun above his head. The sun was shining like a high-wattage light bulb. It was so bright that he couldn't open his eyes. The sunflower started to grow round spots and became blurry. He clenched his fists tightly and gritted his teeth. He made a difficult goo-goo sound and squeezed out a few words from between his teeth. That's it. Zhuang Yichen was shocked. Brother Zhao, you found the ideal solution in the shortest time possible. I think it's better than disfiguring her and tearing her tendons. That's true. Zhuang Yichen could hear the tiredness and hatred in Jiang Zhao's voice. There was also a momentary sense of powerlessness. He couldn't bring himself to say the words of a deal in the past. I did this for you for free. You don't have to pay me back. Jiang Zhao interrupted him. No, you must pay me back. I'll pay you back when she's out of danger. Zhuang Yichen could only say, okay. When Mrs. Jiang wakes up, I'll pay you back. When Mrs. Jiang wakes up, I'll definitely ask you for some benefits. It's a promise. Looking at the sun above his head, he finally couldn't stand the light and closed his eyes. He wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes, hung up the phone and strode out of the hospital. Yunyi, your husband doesn't like to owe people favors. When you wake up, I'll pay you back. You have to work harder and let your husband pay off all the debts as soon as possible. It's uncomfortable to owe people a debt. You don't want me to feel uncomfortable, right? Add Xingwu 799. Chapter 710. Jiang Zhao gave himself some hope as he walked. There is a supermarket beside the military hospital, and it is only 5 to 6 minutes away from the hospital. Jiang Zhao was conflicted. When he was in the hospital, he wanted to leave. But after he left, he was worried that his wife had come out of the operating theater. So, he rushed to the supermarket and bought a thermos bottle. He ran to the cashier and queued up. When he saw the long queue, he took out his wallet and gave 100 renminbi to each person to cut the queue. He humbly told the cashier that his wife was still in the hospital and needed a thermos bottle. Fortunately, no one recognized this bearded, tall and melancholy handsome young mayor of this city. Many people saw his red eyes after crying and could not help but feel pity for him. They refused to accept his money and let him pay the bill first. Jiang Zhao smiled bitterly. He did not expect people to pity him. Does he look like a pitiful person now? All of a sudden his phone rang. When Jiang Zhao ran back to the hospital, Yi Er had moved to the bed. He regretted that he did not rush to the hospital earlier. Qin Fian advised him, very good, there's no danger. The corners of his mouth wanted to pull out a smile, but they kept twitching unnaturally. He thought he would only smile. But when he heard the doctor confidently say, the operation was a success, he hugged the chief surgeon and cried. Thank you. Thank you. He did not know what else to say except to repeat. After the nurse hung up all the 4 bags, Jiang Zhao chased everyone out of the ward. He said he wants to rest for a while. One of them pushed the bedding to the side of the bed and put it together. Then he climbed onto the bed and slept closer to you. He grabbed the hand without the 4 drip with satisfaction and rubbed it in his palm as if he could not get enough of it. He exhaled, Aya, Aya. These sighs were filled with uncontrollable joy. Yunyi, you are so hardworking. Zhuang Yichen, that bastard's favor is finally repaid, right? I knew you were a good girl. That guy is a blood-sucking bug. If I don't return it to him this time, who knows how he will suck my blood dry in the future. I won't give him such a chance. I'm sure you won't be willing either, right? I want to eat my wife's cooking. I've lost weight. He moved his mouth to Yi Er's ear and took a sip. His handsome brows arched in satisfaction. Let's not talk about it anymore. It'll definitely disturb you. Let's go to sleep. I'm so tired. It was already May and the weather was starting to get hot. Jolie curled up beside the shoe cabinet. She felt uncomfortable all over. She was so uncomfortable that she wanted to scratch herself. She had already locked herself in her room for 2 days. She really wanted to control herself. However, her body was a little cold. She didn't know if it was because of the cold, but she felt that her snot was flowing out uncontrollably. She liked to keep her nails long and shape them into charming shapes. With bright nail polish, her hands looked even fairer. Her skin was very good and she had spent a lot of money on maintaining it. Even though she was already 40 years old, her face still looked like a young woman who was not even 30 years old. She loved this face and this skin more than anything else. However, she was now sallow and emaciated. She didn't want to eat or drink. She didn't know what she wanted to do. She got up from the ground and crawled to the bathroom. She wondered if she would feel better after taking a shower. However, when she saw her reflection in the dressing mirror on the wall, Jolie was so scared that she screamed as if she had seen a ghost. Ah. 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 It's not me, it's not me. Zhou Yin didn't feel so scared the last time. However, there was someone in the mirror now. Did she come out of the mental hospital? Why was her hair so messy? Why were her eyes so deep and lifeless? Why were her clothes so dirty? What was even scarier was that her neck, the back of her hands, and the places that were not covered by her clothes were covered with blood-red scratches. She couldn't see her original appearance clearly. She hugged her own face. Fortunately, she had resisted the urge to hurt her favorite face. Fortunately, she didn't hurt it. She squatted down again. It was so itchy. It was as uncomfortable as being bitten by poisonous insects. She only remembered being locked in a place where she couldn't see the light and being given an injection. After a day, she was given another injection. After that, the duration became shorter and shorter. Whenever she felt uncomfortable, she would be given an injection. Now that she was thrown back home, she felt like she was going to die. If she couldn't find that thing, she would really die. The voice of the person who gave her the injection was cold. The next time you come to ask for this thing, you will definitely feel free. If you look for your son-in-law, he will be able to tell at a glance that you are addicted to drugs. He will definitely send you to prison to get sober. The next time you want it, you can look for me. The sun set and rose again. What was the date, day, and time? She couldn't tell. She only remembered that she had been given an injection. It had been a long time since she had an injection. What should she do? What should she do? Jolie had quickly lost weight in the shortest amount of time. She was haggard. She packed up hastily and walked out with her head lowered. She stumbled and found the alley. The roof was like a black shed. It was a dirty and messy place. The top of the alley was sealed, waiting for the people who had been giving her injections for the past few days. Don't look for me. I have no stock here. How can that be? Big brother, how can there be no stock? Yes, there's no stock. Go buy it on the black market. Be careful. Don't be targeted by the police. They will send you to prison. The boss said that Jolie was a brainless person. Sometimes it was better to scare her. It was true. She was addicted and didn't quit. She was afraid of being caught by the police. However, her face was still very beautiful. Just looking at it made people want to press her against the wall and f*ck her. However, the boss said that he could do it with Ouyang Yen but not with this woman. Otherwise, he would humiliate someone he couldn't afford to offend. He couldn't torture her in such a way. Therefore, even if he felt that this woman was so beautiful that he wanted to commit a crime, he thought about it and let it go. If the boss said that he couldn't do it, then he couldn't do it. Jolie was so scared that she nodded repeatedly. She shrank her head, sniffed, and rubbed the tip of her nose that was itching uncomfortably. I won't. Where is the black market? It's... The man in the big brimmed hat and sunglasses whispered a string of addresses in Jolie's ear. Jolie found the legendary black market. Those people hiding in the corner took a needle and inserted it into their arms. They pushed the liquid and raised their heads in enjoyment. One could tell how satisfied they were just by looking at them. Jolie looked around timidly. Someone patted her on the back. You want stock? She turned around and saw a fierce-looking man staring at her with a wretched look in his eyes. When Jolie heard that someone had stock, she nodded eagerly. Yes. She opened her handbag, took out her wallet, and gave him a few pink banknotes. What do you want money for? The man chuckled. You are worth much more than these banknotes. If you follow me, I'll give you an endless supply. How about it? Jolie took a step back. I'll ask someone else to buy it. Haha, see if anyone here will sell it to you. The people around, including those who had been injected on the ground, began to laugh strangely. Jolie couldn't help but tremble. She couldn't stand the feeling of not having drugs. She had already reached her limit. She grabbed the man's arm and said in a daze, I can do whatever I want with what you give me. Add Xingwu 799. Chapter 711. The psychologist analyzed it for Jiang Zhao. Perhaps the patient had subconsciously closed herself off and locked herself into a circle. That was why she chose to escape and not face it. The infusion was also a small amount. 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the evening every day. It was already May. At that time she was still wearing long-sleeved clothes. Now she was wearing short-sleeved clothes. Yunyi, when you wake up, I'll divorce you. I promise you that I won't drag it out and won't cling to you. You've been with me for so long and given me a lot of things. When I was with you, I was very happy. I felt that I got a lot of things. So, don't say nonsense like you don't want anything. If you say that, it will make me look very incompetent. You know that I care about my reputation. I'll give you the house in 9th Mansion. As for alimony, I won't give you. You can earn money now and support yourself. What do you think? Actually, I think you can still ask for some money. After all, if word gets out that I, Jiang Zhao, didn't even give alimony to my ex-wife after a divorce, It would be really embarrassing. Yunyi, you'll let go after the divorce, right? You won't think that one is your husband and the other is your father, right? You won't hate the husband and think that the husband killed the father, and you won't feel inferior and think that the father dragged the husband down, right? You're only 20 years old. Why do you have to think so deeply? But I can't blame you. If it were me, I would also feel very uncomfortable. Okay, I'll do as you say. Let's get a divorce. I've already drafted the divorce agreement. I'm waiting for you to sign it. Jiang Zhao had actually thought it through a long time ago. In front of love and family, Yi Er was unwilling to choose. In her mind, love might be above everything, but it couldn't be above family. On the contrary, even if family was above everything, it couldn't be above love. In her heart, her father and husband were equally important. Jiang Zhao held the 2 divorce agreements that had been drafted in his hand. There were only a few lines of words, unlike many divorce papers that had several pages of densely packed requirements for the obligations of both parties. The house belonged to Yi Er and nothing else. Jiang Zhao's tone was indifferent as he slowly read the contents of the agreement. He read it again and again until the saliva in his mouth was dry. He took a sip of water and continued reading the boring divorce agreement. At night, the lights rippled in the night sea. Yi Er's floor was very high. I won't give you the house in the north of the city. Ouyang Yen stayed there before, so I asked the agent to sell it. If you think it's too little, then negotiate with me. I can't lose a woman, right? Yunyi, let me tell you, it's rare for me to be so easygoing. If you don't hurry up and sign the papers, I might go back on my word tomorrow. You also know that a divorce is too embarrassing for me. I have such a bright future ahead of me, and a divorce is equivalent to a stain on my record. It's rare for me to be so merciful, so you can't blame me if you don't cherish this opportunity. Actually, you're not that good. Why should I insist on not divorcing you? You're not the prettiest. You're just a little taller, have a good figure, and have good skin. What else is good about you? Other than being able to cook something that's barely edible, tidying up the house, and occasionally teasing me to make me laugh. You can barely cooperate with me when it comes to sex. I really don't know what else you have that makes me reluctant to part with you. Look at you, you're as stupid as a pig. To think that I used to praise you as a fox. You've simply humiliated the ancestors of foxes. Forget it. I'll call you Fox Pig like I said before. Hey, look at you. Other than making me so angry that smoke comes out of my 7 orifices, what else have you done for me? At this time, Jiang Zhao had already gotten out of bed. He pulled Yi Er's hand to his mouth and kissed it. His gaze fell on her eyelashes, carefully observing her reaction. In a very dissatisfied tone, he said, Aya, that's great. I'm going to divorce you. He leaned his head on Yi Er's shoulder and let out a long sigh. There was some interest in his tone. Hey, ex-wife, why do you think I'm so happy? I realize that I'm going to be reborn. Do you want to celebrate with me? I can finally get rid of you. I'm taking a deep breath. It's so comfortable. Sign the agreement and we'll have a good drink. Seriously, no matter what, I have to set up a banquet and invite my friends. The extravagance of the divorce must be bigger than the wedding. You know, I'm very prideful. Hey, ex-wife, where do you think we should have our farewell dinner? The Qin residence is definitely not good. You're not our daughter-in-law anymore. How can you eat at the Qin residence? How about Haiwa restaurant? Although the price is quite nouveau riche, the nouveau riche means that you're rich. Who asked me to be rich? Since I'm rich, I have to go to expensive places to eat. Now I feel that divorcing you was the right decision. You're so stingy. When you go out, you always order 2 dishes and 1 soup. You don't show off my ability at all. You make me lose face. The woman's hand was still in his palm. Her hand had the temperature of an ordinary person and was warm. He nestled it on the tip of his nose and deeply inhaled the scent of her skin. The smell was very pungent and sour. It was so sour that it made him very uncomfortable. The sour smell was so strong that he couldn't open his eyes. His chest was filled with the waves of heartfelt words. He steadied his mind and continued to put on airs. So, for the farewell dinner, I'll order the expensive dishes. Anyway, I have plenty of money and I can't even spend it. Do you regret it a little? I'm so rich and there will be many women who like me. Not to mention my status and appearance, there will be many women who like my money. If you divorce me, are you afraid that I'll be snatched away by other women? I'm not afraid to give you a heads up in advance. Once the news that I'm single is announced, my value will immediately rise. At that time, I'm afraid that the doorstep of our house will be trampled to pieces. You know Tsing Tingting, right? Although she didn't pester me after that, I heard that she got engaged some time ago. But if she hears that I'm divorced, she will definitely run out from the engagement party to propose to me. Do you believe me? Why don't we make a bet? Let's bet 10,000 yuan. You're too poor, so let's bet less. Yun Yi, he pressed the woman's hand against his forehead and couldn't continue speaking. Tears flowed down the bridge of his nose, passed through his other eye, and fell onto the pillow, wetting a pool. He let out a long sigh. Yun Yi, you can't be so unreasonable. I've agreed to everything, don't you think so? If you want a divorce, then so be it. What else do you want? Do you think that I'm easy to bully? Now that you can bully me, you're going to bully me with your life? It's enough that you've caused trouble once. Didn't you scare me enough when you got into a car accident last time? You already owe me so much. Don't you feel embarrassed to continue owing me? The more you make me do for you, the more you owe me, right? How are you going to pay these debts? Hey, you must say that you took a bullet for me, so you've paid back what you should, right? Okay. I've paid it all back, okay? We don't owe each other anything anymore. Really, Yun Yi, we don't owe each other anything anymore. You've paid back what I did for you in the past with your life. That's enough. Really, it's enough for anyone. You don't have to feel so inferior and think that you've always been the one who owes me. Really, you've paid back enough. We don't owe each other anything anymore. Do you feel better now? Jiang Zhao talked until very late. He could no longer lift his eyelids and finally fell asleep. The next morning, Jiang Zhao was awakened by the sound of running water. The bathroom. Jiang Zhao sat up abruptly. There was no one on the bed. There was a signature on the divorce agreement on the bedside table. Yun Yi. Beauty novel Xinwu 799. Chapter 712. Those strokes were slender and weak. Her handwriting had always been ugly. He had even mocked her for being a Chinese, but her Chinese handwriting was so ugly. It was soft and squishy, like a person without a skeleton or spirit. She always said that everyone used computers these days, who wanted their handwriting to be so beautiful. But every time she saw some of his work notes, she couldn't help but exclaim in admiration, "God, how many years have you practiced these words? How can you write so well? I like it so much." Jiang Zhao smiled. When he saw the divorce agreement at the top of the paper, his smile became even more bitter. She could actually hear it. She actually also felt that divorce was a way out. She actually didn't want to face their marriage in the future, even if she loved him so much that she could give up her life at the last minute. Perhaps what she needed more than just escape. What she needed more was time. The sound of water coming from the bathroom woke him up instantly. He quickly put on his slippers. When he ran to the bathroom, he pushed the door open and entered. She was bathing naked. The water from the shower was very small. She was washing very carefully, probably afraid that she would touch her back. "Let me help you." She didn't feel embarrassed at all. She just turned her back to him and said calmly, "Oh, okay. I don't know if the injury at the back is better. Is it because I can't touch water?" "A little. I'll wash the injury at the back for you. As for the upper part, wring a towel and wipe it later. This way it won't touch the wound." "Yeah, I don't feel the pain from the wound anymore. Because it's been so long, it's almost healed. But after all, the injury is serious. Don't use too much force. Otherwise the wound will still hurt." If it was in the past, Jiang Zhao would definitely not be able to resist pushing the woman who was bathing against the wall and making a big deal out of her. But now, he did not have the slightest desire to wash her. She also indifferently allowed his hand to gently scrub the skin on her back. The throbbing in their hearts was deeply hidden in the bottom of their hearts. Jiang Zhao was a little hesitant. His gaze fell on her back. It was so thin that her spine could be seen. He put his fingertips there and slowly stroked it. "Yun Yi, can you not tell the family about the divorce?" "Okay." After seeing Yi Er agree, she smiled again. "Yeah, you know that I'm very prideful. Then aren't we going to have a celebration?" Jiang Zhao's eyes lit up. When I'm free we'll have a breakup party. How about that?" Yi Er. Calm. The night was so quiet that only the sounds of insects could be heard. This kind of silence was frightening. Jolie crouched in the grass behind the iron fence. It was already May. The mosquitoes were rampant, but she didn't feel any pain or itch at all. She let those things bite her. She kept remembering that person's instructions. Don't let the workers find out. After all, this kind of place where drugs are traded will definitely be reported. But this is the only place where it's not easy to be found out. When you find that everyone is asleep, open the metal door on the left side of the fence. Go in and wait. Imitate a bird's call and someone will give you the drugs. There's a dog there. Don't be afraid. It's locked and won't hurt you." Jolie believed it again. so when she heard the sound of a dog barking, she wasn't afraid at all. But the nightmare that followed became a demon in her heart forever. The ferocity of the dog and the wind pulled Jolie back from the edge of addiction. Her arm was suddenly pulled, as if a steel nail was suddenly nailed into her arm. It was so painful that she wanted to die. Jolie couldn't take it anymore. She screamed in the wind, "Help!" She couldn't run. She could only hear more than one wild animal fiercely pulling at the metal chain. The wind was strong and powerful as it ran towards her. It was truly frightening. Her body was so weak that she couldn't run anymore. Her leg was pulled again. "Help! Help!" She was already as thin as a stick of firewood, but that wolf dog was like a big and strong man. It grabbed her arms and legs and swung its head, even her whole body was swung up. She screamed miserably, "Help!" She couldn't tell if her voice was filled with fear or despair. She only knew that at this moment she deeply felt pain. It was real pain. She hadn't known what pain was for a long time. She could hear a piece of flesh being torn from her arm. A piece of flesh was also torn from her calf and leg. The pain had already disappeared. She felt like she was going to die. At this moment she suddenly felt pain on her face. Her consciousness instantly recovered. Her face. She suddenly reached out with her free hand to hit the head of the dog that was biting her face. She felt the fur on her face. She seemed to have hit its teeth. This was her bravest counterattack. Previously she was afraid. But her face. The dog was angered. It bit down hard and shook its head. Rip. Feeling a piece of flesh being torn from the left side of her face, Jolie finally felt that she couldn't bear it anymore. Everything in front of her turned black. The lights were turned on. All the lights in the farmhouse were turned on one after another. The barking of the dogs and the cries for help were too intense. When the shop owner rushed out and saw the three wolves tearing apart a mass of flesh and blood, he was shocked. "Quick! She's dead." The dog couldn't resist this kind of meat. The owner rushed up with a stick and shouted. He used force and asked someone to throw a live chicken over to attract the dog's attention. The staff quickly dragged Jolie out of the fence. "Boss, she's still breathing. Quick, send her to the hospital. Give her an injection immediately. Damn, she's going to die. Why did she come to the dog park in the middle of the night? Is there something wrong with her brain?" 2 days later, the night came on time. Zhuang Yichen was very dissatisfied with the result. He couldn't suppress his anger on the phone. "Bastard. How could they send her to the hospital and save her? Boss, the farmhouse is now afraid of getting into a lawsuit, so they have been paying for treatment. Moreover, this matter has caused quite a stir. There were many witnesses at that time, and some people even reported it to the TV station. They even made a special episode about the safety hazards of raising dogs. Do you think we should stop this matter?" "Stop. But when she's discharged, clean it up for me." Now that Jiang Zhao was going to take Yi Er out of the hospital, he couldn't leave this problem to Jiang Zhao. He had to deal with it. "Okay. Zhuang Yichen, do me a favor." A woman's voice came from upstairs. "Okay." Zhuang Yichen hung up the phone and walked upstairs to the walk-in closet. Xiaoye's cloakroom was very big, even bigger than the master bedroom. The clothes in the wardrobe in the master bedroom were all the clothes she usually wore. The cloakroom upstairs was filled with clothes that she made herself, or some expensive gowns that she bought. At this time she was looking at the mirror and pulling at her chest, pouting. "What's wrong?" Zhuang Yichen had already entered the room. He saw Hua Zei's back facing him. The seductive red dress made her snow-white skin look like jade. Looking at the style of the dress, the tube top, the slim waist and the long skirt, he couldn't help but frown. He didn't think they were going to a dinner party because he had never taken her to any. "Where are you going tonight?" "Aya, help me zip it up." She felt the tight skirt wrapping around her tighter and tighter. She knew that the man behind her was pulling up the zipper for her. "My mother introduced me to someone. I have to go deal with him. My mother said that he only likes women like Lu Roing, who are as light as a mast flower. So if I dress up a little more, he will definitely not like me." Zhuang Yichen's hand suddenly pulled up, then pinched the woman's shoulder, turned around and made the woman face him. She wasn't wearing high heels yet, so he pinched her chin and made her look up to meet his eyes. Although the seductive makeup was applied to her eyebrows, because of her delicate skin, the makeup was natural and fitting. She wasn't like those women who couldn't be seen up close once they put on makeup. Her eyelashes were long and curly. At this time, with the elongated mascara, they were like two exaggerated fans. The smoky makeup made the ends of her eyeliner curl up. She wore a seductive red lipstick on her lips. Bright red dress, bright red lips and charming eyes. What a seductive woman. He never liked her wearing heavy makeup. It was too tacky. Although she looked seductive, she didn't look tacky. This woman had made herself look like Sue Dodgy. Was she sure that she was going to make others look down on her? He let go of her. Another blind date? She turned around and looked at herself in the mirror again. Then she took out a diamond necklace from the jewelry box and wore it around her neck. She stretched her swan-like neck and touched the necklace around her neck to see if it matched. Yes. Do you want me to tell my mom that I'm not going? Zhuang Yichen frowned slightly again. What if I say no? Aren't you afraid that my mom will move in and stay here until she marries me off? You're only 25 years old. Why are you thinking about getting married so early? Do you think I want to get married? I don't lack men. My mom said that she needs a son-in-law. It's just a formality. You're so serious about dressing up just for a formality? Zhuang Yichen wanted to rub the makeup on her face. How am I serious? My mom said that that person likes women who are as plain as water. I did the opposite. Do you want me to dress up to suit that person's taste? Zhuang Yichen turned around and walked out of the room with an inexplicable anger. Xiaoya heard the sound of his footsteps slowly disappear up the stairs. Her shoulders slumped and she felt a bitter taste in her mouth. What exactly did this man want? Jiang Zhao sneaked out of the hospital with Yi Er. Rather than saying that they were sneaking out, it was more accurate to say that they were in cahoots with the hospital. Yi Er could be discharged from the hospital, but Jiang Zhao told the doctor that they needed to observe him for a while longer. It was fine for a person who was unconscious to sleep in the hospital, but for a person who could move freely, it was a form of torture. Thus, Jiang Zhao naturally sneaked out of the hospital with Yi Er. Haiqing in May is really comfortable. It's not cold or hot, right? Jiang Zhao asked. Yes, the wind at night is really comfortable. Yi Er stretched out his arms comfortably and felt very comfortable walking on the road. Are you hungry? Let's go get something to eat? I want to eat sashimi, okay? Jiang Zhao did not dare to agree to this. It's cooked. Is that okay? How about spicy boiled fish? Jiang Zhao's mouth twitched. It seemed like she could not eat anything too spicy. Can you not add spicy? How about spicy fish? Was this woman deliberately going against him? How about steamed fish? Welfare Xingwu 799. Chapter 713. Go to the most expensive place to eat. That way you can show off your wealth. Order 2 servings, eat 1 and throw the other away? Sure, I also want to get rich. When are you going to treat me? Anytime. I won't go to that kind of place to treat you. I'll go to your place. You can cook for me. Okay. Yi Er agreed without hesitation. The two of them didn't drive. Instead, they walked and looked for high-end restaurants. Jiang Zhao felt that this was actually a good thing. Yi Er didn't have to act like a yes-man in front of him anymore. Instead, he had to think of ways to please her. Was she finally relaxed? Just like now, when she was happy, she would spin around. Under the streetlights, her smile was like the sun during the day. It made the streetlights pale in comparison. Finally, she didn't have those servile smiles anymore. Her black hair continued to grow. He still had a bunch of her hair. At that time, her hair was like withered grass. It was much longer than it was now. The days passed quickly. After Yi Er woke up, she called the dance studio to ask about the progress of the TV station. Everything was fine. During this process, no one knew that she was injured and hospitalized. Even Xiaoya thought that she had gone abroad. She even called Jiang Zhao and scolded Jiang Zhao for not letting his wife contact her. The shooting didn't lead to the murderer. The Ouyang Yin was gang-raped and committed suicide. Zhuang Yichen had his own way of cutting off clues. No one connected the two incidents together. Naturally, no one would think that the Ouyang Yan's death was due to Jiang Zhao's revenge and Zhuang Yichen's cooperation. The Western restaurant named Vienna was as magnificent as its name. In the end, Yi Er said that she wanted to eat steak, so she booked a table here. The 3rd floor was a private room. Yi Er didn't have to accommodate Jiang Zhao's preferences anymore. Therefore, she wanted to sit in the main hall. The 1st and 2nd floors were the main hall. However, she heard that the entire 2nd floor was booked, so they could only eat on the 1st floor. Yi Er liked to eat in big and bright places. She felt that there was nothing to hide under the sun. Xiaoya's habit of sitting by the window hadn't changed. The floor of Vienna wasn't high, but the garden outside the building was huge. Therefore, the scenery outside the window was even more charming than the view from a tall building. Especially in May, when the sky was full of flowers, it was hard for a woman not to love a flower house that symbolized romance. Although the entire second floor had been reserved, Yi could still smell the rose fragrance in the entire restaurant. It was a natural floral fragrance, not a mixture of spices. Someone whispered, "Wow, he's proposing. Do you know that? So romantic." The second floor is filled with a sea of flowers and roses. Oh my God. What a huge diamond ring. The man is very handsome. Really, he's the young master of the Kong family. The woman is Xiao Yiqiu. She's that famous designer. They match so well. Xiao Yiqiu is dressed beautifully today. She's wearing a red gown and her makeup is beautiful too. She matches the atmosphere today. Yi was splashing water on her face in the bathroom. She was shocked when she heard the discussion. She walked out of the bathroom in a hurry. She stepped on the thick carpet and walked quickly to Jiang Zhao. The second floor is booked by Kang Yun. He proposed to Xiao Ya. Jiang Zhao sat opposite Yi. Seeing the confusion on Yi's face, he couldn't believe it. He didn't contact Zhuang Yichen, so he didn't know about the relationship between Zhuang Yichen and Qiu Xiaoya. Where did you hear this from? Didn't I go to wash my face just now? I accidentally heard it. I think the waiter on the second floor said it. It doesn't seem fake. I want to go up and take a look. What are you going to see? If it's not, you'll get into trouble. Although Jiang Zhao's seat wasn't directly facing the door, he could still see everything that was happening at the door. He just happened to look up and see the tall door being pulled open by the waiter. A man wearing a casual black cotton shirt, casual pants and shoes came in. Jiang Zhao knew that if Zhuang Yichen came out, he wouldn't be dressed so casually. It was obvious that he was either at home or had rushed over from somewhere. Otherwise he would be dressed in a suit like him. Everyone wanted to gain respect from others, so they had to show respect when they wore clothes. Although it was casual, the domineering aura of black on Zhuang Yichen was obvious. Could it be that the two of them had a tacit understanding today? Was that why they were both dressed casually? The only difference was that he was wearing white, while Zhuang Yichen was wearing black. However, Zhuang Yichen's face was as dark as iron. He just took big steps towards the extremely wide staircase that led to the second floor. Jiang Zhao had a bad feeling. He followed Zhuang Yichen's footsteps and stood up. The waiter quickly chased after them and said with a nod, Mr. Zhuang, I'm sorry, but the second floor has been reserved. If you want to eat, can we take the elevator to the third floor? Zhuang Yichen turned a deaf ear to him and walked up 3 steps at a time. The staircase was very wide and was covered with a thick and soft dark red floral carpet. It was like a European palace. The floors were very high, so there were many staircases. The waiter was panting as he followed. Mr. Zhuang. Zhuang Yichen stopped in his tracks and turned around. His menacing aura scared the waiter who had yet to approach him. The waiter took a step back and stammered, Mr. Zhuang. The second floor has been booked. Get lost. Zhuang Yichen's eyes turned cold and he shouted. The waiter was so scared that he stumbled back and fell down the stairs. Oh my God. Yi covered her mouth and exclaimed. Jiang Zhao pushed his chair away. Yunyi, wait for me downstairs. I'm going up to take a look. I'm afraid something bad is going to happen. Zhao. Yi immediately followed Jiang Zhao and ran up to the second floor. In fact, Jiang Zhao could totally ignore this matter. However, Zhuang Yichen looked like he was about to kill someone and there was no one following him. What if he did something impulsive? Zhuang Yichen had already smelled the fragrance of roses when he was in the staircase. The entire Vienna was smothered by this smell and no one could recognize the smell. Before he reached the end of the staircase, he saw that the tables and chairs that used to be in the hall on the second floor had disappeared. There were piles and piles of roses. When he walked up, he realized that each pile of roses was as big as a big round table. They were even arranged in a heart shape. Heart shape. Bullshit. There was only one small long table on the second floor. Xiaoya was sitting on it with her body turned sideways. Kang Yun was kneeling on one knee, holding an exquisite red velvet box in her hand. The diamond was very dazzling. It was definitely dazzling. If it wasn't, how could the woman be unable to open her eyes? Moo, marry me. The man took out the diamond ring from the box and placed the box on the table. The woman's hand was gently held by the man. He wanted to put the ring that represented a lifetime into the woman's slender finger. The ring in her hand was suddenly snatched away. It was not a beautiful parabola. Like a shooting star, it disappeared without a trace. Only a faint sound could be heard from afar. Zhuang Yichen threw away the ring that Kang Yun was about to put on Xiaoya's finger. He lifted his long leg and kicked Kang Yun's chest hard. Kang Yun was caught off guard and fell down. Xiaoya stood up abruptly. Her eyes widened as she looked at Zhuang Yichen in disbelief. She was scared. Zhuang Yichen did not look at Xiaoya. Instead, he looked condescendingly at Kang Yun, who was wearing a formal tuxedo, who was about to get up. The corners of his mouth twitched. He swept the red wine and steak on the table to the ground. The man was in a sorry state. Zhuang Yichen looked at the way the two were dressed. He felt an uncontrollable fire spreading in his body. One was wearing a black tuxedo, the other was wearing a bright red tube-top dress. They even lied to him that the man liked women who were indifferent. Zhuang Yichen, what are you doing? Zhuang Yichen turned around and glared at Xiaoya. He shouted in a deep voice, sit down. Xiaoya did not dare to resist. She could not explain herself even if she had 10 mouths. She did not know that a blind date and a meal had become a marriage proposal. She also did not know that it was Kang Yun. If she knew, she would not have come. Zhuang Yichen did not look at Xiaoya, who had angered him. He turned around and stepped on Kang Yun's chest. Kang Yun was a gentleman. When he used force, it was not Zhuang Yichen's move. Zhuang Yichen's foot on Kang Yun's chest was just like his imposing manner. It was overbearing and arrogant. He could not resist at all. He said fiercely, Kang, did you eat a bear's heart or a leopard's gall? You dare to touch my Zhuang Yichen's woman? Zhuang Yichen, I have the right to pursue Mu. She also has the right to choose me. Kang Yun could not stand up. His head was hit by the plate on the table and was bleeding. At this moment he felt dizzy. Right? Zhuang Yichen snorted, your right was long gone the moment she was with me. Her right was also gone at that moment. What bullshit right and right are you talking about in front of me? Let me tell you, only I, Zhuang Yichen, have the right. I have the right. Put away your dirty tricks. If you dare to have any thoughts of touching my woman again, don't blame me. Zhuang Yichen clenched his teeth and said, don't blame me. He swallowed the rest of his words, but it was like a knife from his ink-black pupils. Kang Yun trembled, who do you think you are? Zhuang Yichen mocked, you will know who I am in the future. But I advise you not to know, it won't do you any good. Jiang Zhao had already asked the waiters and security guards to block off the second floor and not let anyone else come up. He did not want them to be on the newspapers tomorrow. Stop fooling around. Jiang Zhao pulled Zhuang Yichen, take Xiaoya back. It won't do you any good if you make a big fuss. Jiang Zhao saw that Zhuang Yichen still refused to let go of his foot, but Kang Yun was obviously injured from the impact and had no strength left. He lowered his voice and looked at Zhuang Yichen coldly, do you want tomorrow's newspapers to have the news of you and Kang Yun fighting over Qiu Xiaoya? Zhuang Yichen's eyes flashed, but he still refused to admit it. If I don't teach him a lesson, he won't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Yes, let him know and let the whole of Haiqing know. Jiang Zhao patted Zhuang Yichen's shoulder, you go first, now is not the time to fool around. Zhuang Yichen pondered for a while, okay, I'll take her away first. You and Xiaoya take the elevator to the garage, don't take the stairs. Jiang Zhao then said to Yi, Yunyi, go get our car and wait for them at the elevator in the underground garage in case they get photographed. Wait for me there. Yi nodded and quickly pressed the elevator button to leave first. Zhuang Yichen said stiffly, thank you. He pulled Xiaoya away, but Xiaoya couldn't keep up with Zhuang Yichen's footsteps. Her high heels weren't suitable for running in such big strides, and the carpet on the floor was thick and soft. She felt that her heels were hooked and fell forward, crying out in pain, ah. Kang Yun got up from the ground and was about to chase after Xiaoya when Jiang Zhao pulled him back. Young Master Kang, why don't you tidy up your appearance first? Kang Yun froze in shame. Zhuang Yichen saw that Xiaoya had already squatted down, and his steel-like eyes darkened. He picked up Xiaoya and held her more firmly in his arms, then strode towards the elevator. He said angrily, I'll teach you a lesson when we get back. Beauty Novel Song Shu 566. Chapter 7:14. The four of them sat in Jiang Zhao's car. Yi and Jiang Zhao sat in the front, but at this moment Xiaoya really wanted to switch seats with Yi. Zhuang Yichen didn't say a word the whole way, but his face was sullen. Jiang Zhao was the first to break the silence. Yichen, where did you go tonight? No, I was at home the whole time. Actually, he had been in Qingfeng Garden the whole time. His men were following Xiaoya, so he read some books to pass the time. He could have gone back to Ninth Mansion, but he couldn't help thinking about how she dressed up that night. He just had to find something to do in Qingfeng Garden. It wasn't too late, it was still very early. But when his men called, he was furious. Good Lord, he wasn't going on a normal blind date, he was going to accept a marriage proposal. The other party wasn't just anyone, it was Kang Yun. This woman was extraordinarily bold now. In the past she wouldn't have dared to lie to him, but now she didn't even need to think of a script to lie. Why don't the four of us go to Haiwei restaurant and find a private room for dinner? Jiang Zhao had originally brought Yi Er out for dinner, but the meal was ruined before they could finish. There's no need. Just send me back to 9th Mansion. I've already eaten. I think she's eaten too. The she Zhuang Yichen was referring to was naturally Xiaoya. Xiaoya rubbed her stomach. She hadn't eaten yet, it was all wasted. Jiang Zhao had an idea. Okay, I'll go home with Yun Yi to eat. Get some food from the fridge. There was no food in the fridge, but there was a small supermarket in 9th Mansion that sold daily vegetables. Although it didn't have a complete variety, it was still very fresh. Most importantly, he could get Yi Er to cook for him and he could help out. Thinking of this, his hands that were holding the leather steering wheel felt exceptionally comfortable. He secretly turned his face to look at the woman beside him. She was also turning her head to look at him with a hint of dissatisfaction. He gave her an apologetic look. I'll have to trouble you then, Brother Zhao. Zhuang Yichen did not notice the flirtatious glances between the two people in the front row. He was not in a good mood, so his thanks were stiff and stiff. Jiang Zhao didn't care about it. He knew that Zhuang Yichen was probably so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Who didn't know that Zhuang Yichen was a very domineering person? It would be strange if he wasn't angry when something like this happened. Xiaoya was thrown into the room by Zhuang Yichen. As soon as Xiaoya took off her shoes, she was picked up by the waist and hung onto the man's waist. Then he walked into the room. Xiaoya's head and feet were hanging towards the ground. She felt her head was bleeding. Zhuang Yichen, what are you doing? He went straight to the bathroom and turned on the tap. As Xiaoya was placed on the ground, her head was pressed under the tap. Zhuang Yichen took a towel that was hung neatly on the rack to dry. He soaked it in water and rubbed Xiaoya's face. Xiaoya choked on a lot of water. The white porcelain basin filled up more and more, but her head was pressed down forcefully by Zhuang Yichen, so she couldn't get out of the water. She wanted to curse Zhuang Yichen, but when she opened her mouth, she drank a big mouthful of water. Zhuang Yichen lifted Xiaoya up and looked at her smudged face. But water couldn't wash away the makeup on her face. He was instantly furious. Xiaoya looked at Zhuang Yichen's eyes that were spitting fire. She felt a chill run down her spine. This man's violent tendencies were so obvious. How did she not notice it before? Her nose was still hurting. Zhuang Yichen, have you lost your mind? Zhuang Yichen didn't say anything to Xiaoya. He only held her down and didn't allow her to move. He pressed her against the sink and reached out to take his facial cleanser. He squeezed it out and rubbed it in his palms. Then he rubbed it all over Xiaoya's face. Ah, my eyes. Zhuang Yichen rubbed the facial cleanser into Xiaoya's eyes. Zhuang Yichen knew that facial cleanser shouldn't enter the eyes, but he allowed Xiaoya to scream. When he was almost done, he pressed her into the white porcelain basin and rinsed her with the water from the tap. Xiaoya felt that she was being humiliated and bullied. This kind of man was simply a violent pervert. He didn't know how to respect people. From the moment he pushed her into the basin, he was no longer a gentleman. Xiaoya didn't scream anymore. She closed her eyes and allowed this man to humiliate her in any way he wanted. The woman's head was pulled out of the water. Zhuang Yichen saw that her face was white again. The fire in his eyes extinguished a little. He saw the resistance in Xiaoya's eyes, but he could choose to ignore it. He pinched the woman's chin and pulled it up. He bent down and kissed her. He wanted to taste if there was another man's taste in her mouth. But just as his tongue entered her mouth, it was bitten by the woman's teeth. He instinctively retracted his tongue. Hiss. Zhuang Yichen frowned. In this luxurious bathroom, the two of them stood in front of the large sink. The orange light above them shone on Xiaoya's skin. Bite me. I'll bite you. The surging air in his chest pushed his chest up and down. Zhuang Yichen's gaze landed on Xiaoya's mouth. Then he moved his gaze down to her chin. Her beautiful neck and beautiful collarbone. Necklace? Evening gown? The color of the flame-like evening gown was reflected in his eyes. It was like two clusters of burning fire. He let out a long sigh, gritted his teeth, and reached over to tear her dress. The air was filled with rip, rip sounds until there was no sound. Zhuang Yichen, you bastard. What do you take me for? I hate you. I hate you. Xiaoya felt like a disrespected prostitute at this moment. She squatted by the door and buried her head between her knees. Although she always knew that she relied on sleeping with men to get to where she was, she had never felt like a prostitute like this in the 4 years she had been with him. A prostitute who was bullied and humiliated by others. But she didn't cry. She hated women who cried so easily. Her heart was in so much pain that she couldn't shed any tears. There was a pile of red fabric on the floor. Xiaoya's bra was thrown to the ground. Her underwear was torn off, and her necklace was thrown away. She was completely naked. Zhuang Yichen kicked all the things on the floor that were an eyesore to him to the trash can. Then he carried the naked Xiaoya out of the bathroom. He was very uncomfortable and depressed during the process. He threw Xiaoya into his pants and covered her body with a silk blanket. He pressed on top of her and said in a low voice, "Little demon Qiu, I didn't strip you naked because I wanted to do you. Don't test my patience time and time again. I told you last time, Kang Yun. Stay away from him." "What do you take me for?" "What do I take you for?" "I take you for my woman." Her body under the silk blanket trembled. Jiang Zhao's dinner was very sumptuous. There were 3 dishes and a soup. He hadn't eaten 2 bowls of rice in a long time. He was very satisfied with this meal. Jiang Zhao cleaned up the dishes and came out of the kitchen. Ye was eating honeydew melon. "Jiang Zhao, I think I should go back to the hospital tonight. The doctor is probably looking for me." Jiang Zhao pointed to his back. Ye threw the honeydew melon into his mouth and ran over to Jiang Zhao to untie the apron knot on his back and help him take it off. "It's okay. I just called. The doctor said that it's the same if you go tomorrow. I told him that you were out for so long and there were no other reactions." "Really?" "Yeah." "Oh yeah, Miss Yun, remember not to tell anyone about our divorce." Ye nodded like a chick pecking rice. "Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry, Mr. Jiang. I'll keep it a secret." Jiang Zhao looked at Ye's smiling face. This woman's reaction was really disappointing. Was the divorce making her so happy? "I don't believe you. I don't know who used to threaten me that she was a blabbermouth." Ye thought about the robbery that night. She had used all her means to make Jiang Zhao take her out of the alley. "Isn't that just once in a while? We can't be like that all the time. I'll sleep in Jie's room. You sleep upstairs alone. I'll make some preparations in a few days and move out." Ye's heart ached. "Jiang Zhao, thank you." "What are you thanking me for? There's no need for this between us." "Thank you for being considerate." "I should be considerate. You care about me and I care about you. It's only right, isn't it?" Ye nodded. It was a habit. They didn't talk about love. They only talked about what they should talk about. A week later, Jolie went crazy and couldn't be controlled. She could only be sent to the mental hospital. Ye went to see her twice. Every time, Jolie was covering her face and banging her head against the wall. As long as someone went to see her, she would bang her head against the wall until her head was bleeding. She said that her face couldn't be seen anymore. When she was in rehab, she said that no one dared to go near her. She hit and bit people and tortured them until they were black and blue. When Ye saw her mother like this, she didn't feel conflicted anymore. Everyone had their own destiny. Later on, she realized that maybe she was really biased. If her father had become like this, she would have been heartbroken. But when her mother became like this, she viciously felt that it was a form of relief. Ye returned to work. The busy Ye kept pestering Xiaoya. "Sister Xiaoya, help me. Do you think this song will be better with a cheongsam with a one-sided slit?" "I think a cheongsam with a one-sided slit above the knee would be good because the female partner's legs are very beautiful." Xiaoya knew that this was an entertainment program. Many of the songs were popular among the public. The song was also very Chinese. Ye's idea was very good. "Ye, are you trying to steal my job? How is that possible? I can't even draw a manuscript or make a sample dress. You're thinking too much." As the two of them were talking, Ye's cell phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello." She picked it up and asked, "Sister Ye, Lulu? Why did you change your phone number?" Ye stood up happily. No wonder she couldn't get in touch after so long. She changed her phone number. "Yes, it's me. It was a little inconvenient, so I changed my number." Ching Su's voice was a little soft. "How have you been recently?" "I'm very good. Lulu, are you feeling better?" Ching Su muttered to herself for a while. Her voice wasn't as sweet and straightforward as before. Instead, it sounded a little gloomy. "I'm all better. I want to treat you and Xiao brother-in-law to a meal. When will you be free?" "Tonight. I'll ask Jiang Zhao. He might not be free." Ye didn't dare to agree to a meal on behalf of Jiang Zhao. Besides, family Min was in decline. He really couldn't think of a reason why Ching Su would look for Jiang Zhao. "Okay, just tell him I want to treat him to a meal. He probably won't refuse." Ching Su didn't sound confident when she said this. But just as Ching Su said, Yi Er repeated Qing Su's words and Jiang Zhao agreed to the meal. He still remembered the scene when he went to see Qing Su after she woke up from her car accident. He remembered all the promises he made to her. Perhaps Qing Su didn't forget either. Some debts had to be repaid. Jiang Zhao told Yi Er not to go with him because there were some things he wanted to talk to Qing Su about in private. A powerful novel. Songshu 566. Chapter 7:15. Was already swamped with work to begin with. Hearing Jiang Zhao's words, she agreed. In a small private room in Haiwei restaurant, only Jiang Zhao and Qing Su were seated. Just as Jiang Zhao expected, Qing Su went straight to the point. She didn't seem to be in good spirits. Her head was slightly lowered and she didn't have her usual vigor. Her voice was also no longer crisp. "Xiao brother-in-law, do you still remember what you promised me?" "Yes, I remember. Just say the word as long as it's within my means." Jiang Zhao was fine when he didn't see Qing Su. As soon as he saw Qing Su, he felt that this girl shouldn't have suffered so much. He was responsible for both of her injuries. Qing Su looked up at Jiang Zhao. "Actually, I feel that I'm not a good person. When I saved Yi Er's Jejia, I didn't think of asking you for anything in return. I really didn't think of it." Qing Su's words and voice were filled with deep helplessness and self-deprecation. It was as if this kind of action made her feel embarrassed. "But now I have no other choice. I can't find anyone to help me. After hesitating for so long, I can only bring this matter up to you. It was clearly a very simple matter, but now I've made it a little dirty." When she said the word dirty, Qing Su frowned slightly. She seemed to be disgusted. "Lulu, you don't have to think like that. Even though you've raised conditions with me, it doesn't affect the fact that you're a good girl." As Jiang Zhao's thoughts turned, he already had a rough idea. Although he hated Min Zikai, as he said, he had always felt that Qing Su was a good girl. Qing Su looked at Jiang Zhao calmly. There was a clear and pure light in her eyes. "Min Hongxing has been convicted, but he's only been sentenced. Luckily, family Min's debt isn't that serious, so they can still get by. But Min Zikai has caused some trouble recently. He got into a lawsuit. His mother said that he was framed. Min Hongxing told me to keep an eye on him and not let him cause any trouble. Family Min only has one son." Jiang Zhao smiled faintly. "You want to plead for leniency for Min Zikai?" After a moment, Qing Su nodded slowly. "Yes. But I remember that you didn't like him in the past." Min Hongxing said that Min Zikai and I both have his blood in our veins. Qing Su sniffled lightly. Jiang Zhao looked at the dishes on the table. Neither of them touched their chopsticks. He picked up the tea in front of him and took a sip. When he saw Qing Su, this reminded him of Yi Er in the past. Actually, after Qing Su had saved Yi Er's life, he had never thought of setting a trap for Min Zikai again. But Min Zikai didn't know how to appreciate his kindness and went to Yi Er's dance studio to provoke her. If he didn't teach him a lesson, how could he? Min Zikai's ability to make Jiang Zhao uncomfortable was no less than Yunwu's. And Yunwu had been lying low for a long time, so Jiang Zhao couldn't find any loopholes. So when Min Zikai provoked him, Jiang Zhao had a vengeful reaction. Smuggling. It was a method that he had thought of long ago. He just wanted to use it later. But these personal grudges actually made him exhale deeply when Qing Su's eyes suddenly reddened. He asked her, "If you were framed, you need evidence. You have any?" Qing Su was surprised for a moment. She suddenly said, "Then Xiao brother-in-law, can you tell me how to find evidence?" "I don't know, but I can try." "Lulu, Min Zikai won't accept your kindness." Jiang Zhao frowned. He thought back to when Qing Su was hospitalized with a broken rib in her lung. Min Zikai didn't even visit her. Later on, when she was seriously injured, Min Zikai didn't even frown. It was as if he couldn't wait for her to die. Qing Su lowered her eyes and stared at the light yellow tea in front of her. She didn't want to appear too self-deprecating. "But his surname is Min. Min Hongxing's family hasn't been ruined yet. We still have to rely on him to support it in the future. I know there's no way to deal with Min Hongxing's crime. I can only think of ways to reform him and try to reduce his sentence. But if Min Zikai also goes to jail, the family Min will really be finished. Min Hongxing's life's work will be ruined." Jiang Zhao sighed softly. Qing Su called him by his name, but he could tell that she really wanted to say that Min Hongxing was her father. Her actions had already proved it. "If only he was half as sensible as you. Men always mature late. My mother said so." Qing Su's voice was slightly choked. "I remember that Min Hongxing gave you a lot of family Min shares. You can support the family Min. You don't have to rely on Min Zikai." If you don't understand, I can help you hire a consultant. Ching Su shook her head. My surname will always be Liu. Even if I have the Min Group's shares, I won't change my surname. Family Min will belong to Min Zikai in the future. I don't want it. My mother didn't leave me anything, only this surname. Jiang Zhao could see that Ching Su's shoulders were trembling uncontrollably. These girls sigh. Well, you can't get him out, right? This incident was originally planned by his people, so it wouldn't be difficult to get him out. Ching Su's eyes lit up and she quickly nodded. Yes. Okay. Let's eat. Don't let your sister Yi'er know about this. It wasn't easy for them to have an equal relationship. He didn't want her to feel indebted. Thank you, Xiao brother-in-law. Ching Su didn't realize from the start that Jiang Zhao liked the 3 words, Xiao brother-in-law, very much. It was June and the summer was scorching hot. The program team gathered all the behind-the-scenes staff for a meeting. The general content of the meeting was that the viewership ratings were very good and the finals were coming soon. The station wanted to set a new high in viewership ratings and create a different model. They wanted to find an outdoor venue for the finals. As for the location of the finals, it was also a good opportunity to make money. They would provide a few scenic spots in the country that had good scenery and were also related to their sister stations. They would let the audience send messages and make calls to choose. Each message cost $1. The final location that they chose would be the one with the most votes. Therefore, some people thought that a coastal city would be chosen. After all, it was the middle of summer and there were beaches and bikinis. But in the end, the location chosen was the Hulunber grasslands. The costumes, lighting, and mentors had to participate unless they were unwell. Everyone went through a physical examination. Yi'er originally thought that she was injured and couldn't participate. But unexpectedly, after the examination, she was in good condition. Xiaoya hugged Yi'er excitedly. Oh, this is great. I really want to find a reason to leave Haiqing. This is a good opportunity. Yi'er, you have to come with me. What are you doing? Are you feeling uncomfortable again? What did Haiqing do to you? No, I just don't want to face that jerk Zhuang Yichen. Xiaoya felt that it was getting harder and harder to communicate with Zhuang Yichen. Although they didn't communicate in the past, their communication in bed was still very good. Now she was always looking for reasons and excuses to reject him. She didn't like him touching her and hated him for being disrespectful to her. It's good to go out and relax. Yes, do you want to discuss it with Jiang Zhao? Of course. Yi'er felt that although they were divorced and no longer lived together, Jiang Zhao still wanted to tell her everything. He even asked her every day about what she was doing. He was used to it. If she didn't tell him her whereabouts, he would feel very uncomfortable. Then go back and discuss it with him. You have to think of a way to make him agree. As long as I'm healthy, he won't object. Yi'er smiled confidently. Her eyes curved into crescents and her face was filled with happiness. Jiang Zhao was no longer as domineering as before. He almost never questioned anything she did. This feeling was too relaxing. The car drove to 9th Mansion. With the Bluetooth earpiece in her ear, she told Jiang Zhao about the TV station's decision and her physical condition. Jiang Zhao listened to Yi'er's description and was naturally delighted. Great, you can still go out and have fun. Don't tire yourself out. I think after I'm done with my work, I'll go there on a business trip. Who knows, you might run into her. What kind of business trip was that? He was obviously already thinking of arranging his work and getting ready to go find his wife. Really? I was going to ask you to pick up CGF for me. It's okay. The Qin family doesn't know that we're divorced. I'll tell the butler. Master, you're so kind. This servant is very grateful. Here you go again. Drive carefully and don't call. That night, Shi Mansion. Unwu was wearing a simple set of white home clothes. He was leisurely looking at his past works in the studio. Some of them were already damaged. Although it was a pity, he was still satisfied. Although he could no longer draw with his hands, those things from the past were still very clear in his mind. He walked to the window and looked at the crescent moon in the sky. He touched his heart and gently closed his eyes. He didn't know how long it could beat. Maybe a year, maybe 2 years? Those words about being with a person of one heart and being together forever were all lies. Fortunately, he realized early on that he couldn't be together with her forever. Fate couldn't predict his trajectory, but it could determine his ending. Fortunately, he didn't do anything that would make her feel disgusted. Even if one day he was no longer in this world, she might still remember. Oh, so there used to be a boy named Shi Yunwu who painted in that art street for so long. No matter what happened, he never stopped painting. He must have been very serious about pursuing the art he loved. She said that he was a prince in a fairy tale. So there wasn't necessarily a princess by the prince's side. Although there was no princess by the prince's side, the princess lived in the prince's heart. Unwoo blinked the moisture in his eyes. He was a little thirsty, so he walked out. He wanted to see if his grandfather was resting. The slippers on his feet were soft and silent. He walked up the stairs lightly and shallowly. Outside the study, he could hear the voice in the study. It wasn't loud, but he could clearly feel the sternness of the person on the phone. Useless thing. These people have the nerve to ask for a price. They didn't do it cleanly, and they want me to find someone to cut off their tail. Unwoo frowned slightly. He pushed the door open and asked softly, "Grandpa, what happened again?" Shi Jintian was shocked. He hurriedly hung up the phone and suddenly put away his stern expression. He said kindly, "Unwoo, what are you doing upstairs? Shouldn't you be in the studio now?" "Oh, I wanted to come up and see if Grandpa was busy." Unwoo had already heard Shi Jintian's serious words and was rather worried. "Grandpa, did you encounter some trouble? What needs to be done, but you didn't do it cleanly?" Unwoo knew about his family's background and was nervous. Shi Jintian saw Yunwoo's inquiry and concern. He patted him on the shoulder and walked out, changing the topic. "Have you been in a better mood recently?" Beauty novel Hongcha 866. Chapter 716. It's pretty good. As long as it's good. There's no obstacle that can't be overcome. Actually, there are many obstacles that can't be overcome. No, Grandpa will flatten them for you, Shi Jintian said nonchalantly. However, Unwoo was shocked. Although they had imagined the grassland when it was really time, Yi Er and Xiaoya were still stunned by the scenery in front of them. As far as the eye could see, it was a boundless expanse of green, dotted with scattered flowers. Looking at the boundless blue sky, the clouds in the sky were like a brush swinging wildly on a piece of paper. It was also like a veil on a young girl's head flying up. It was so transparent that only a faint white could be seen. The sky was so blue that even their hearts were clean. When the wind blew, there was no smell of dust or exhaust. There was only the smell of grass and the fragrance of wild flowers. Xiaoya hugged Yi Er and rolled on the ground. Yi Er, I like it here. I like it very much. Sister Xiaoya, don't be crazy. Be more reserved. You're a great designer. There are many people in the production team. Xiaoya let go of Yi Er and lay on the ground. She rested her head on her hands and adjusted her sunglasses to block the sunlight. She looked at the sky. It's not the first day that the people of Haiqing know that I'm not reserved. Sai, why did the production team choose such a place? How can I be in the mood to film? Isn't Brother TV here? It's convenient. Look, when we arrived, the yurts and everything were already prepared. It's so convenient. The location was also chosen well. There's a water source here. Yi Er closed her eyes and told Xiaoya what she knew. Actually, Xiaoya also knew what she knew, but she couldn't find anything to say. She missed Jiang Zhao a little. He said that he would come here for a business trip. When was he coming? Hey, what are you thinking about? Xiaoya stretched out her leg and nudged Yi Er. Sister Xiaoya, do you miss Zhuang Yichen when you come to a place like this that has nothing to do with Haiqing? Xiaoya snorted and said, Why should I miss him? I can't wait to stay away from him. He's a psycho. Don't you know that? That damn psycho. The sunglasses on Yi Er's face blocked the dazzling sunlight and ultraviolet rays. Her eyes were closed under the sunglasses. She sighed softly and said, If what happened between you and Kang Yun that day happened to me, Jiang Zhao would also be so agitated that he would turn crazy. Yi Er didn't think that she was exaggerating. Back then Jiang Zhao had made a lot of trouble. It was either Nu or Min Zikai. He even bit her. Yes. He even fought. Was this something a 30-year-old man should do? He wasn't 18 years old. That wasn't my fault. He didn't even ask me what was going on. I didn't provoke him. I didn't know that Kang Yun was the one who asked me out. He even abused me when I went back. He hit you? That can't be. Were all men so scary? Could it be that Zhuang Yichen also bit people? Was this what they meant by birds of a feather flocking together? No. Anyway, he abused me. Psychological abuse. He didn't treat her as a human. Okay, let's go out and relax. Don't be angry. If I was angry at him, I would have been angered to death 100 times. Sister Xiaoya, you're the most magnanimous. Xiaoya felt that Yi Er had grown up. The way she spoke was much calmer than before. She always gave people a sense of calmness in the face of change. It was as if she had seen through everything. Rather than saying that she had matured, it was better to say that she was filled with a helpless sadness. Knowing about Yun Hongwei's death and Zhou Li's madness must have been a big blow to her, right? Yi, don't you and Jiang Zhao plan to have a child? Yi's heart skipped a beat. What you said in the past was quite true. So, we basically have contraceptives. Let's have one. Jiang Zhao is a good person. He's not young anymore. He's good to you and you have him in your heart. Why don't you want one? Xiaoyu was silent for a long time. Yi seemed to know that she had something to say, so he turned his head and quietly looked at her side profile. After a while, Xiaoyu said sadly, I don't want one because I'm not married. You're different from me. You have a child so your family is complete. Marriage? But they were already divorced. But, Yi continued to smile. Let's talk about it when we get back. Jiang Zhao said that if she wanted to remarry, she would tell him immediately. When they got back, she would tell him that she wanted to have a child. Because at this moment she really missed him. It was as if there was only a big photo of a blue sky and white clouds above her head, and it was only the background of the photo. In front of it stood a tall and handsome man, looking at her with a smile. As she thought about it, she got up and started running. Xiaoyu sat up and shouted at Yi's back. Yunyi, what are you doing? I have a secret. I'm not telling you. Yi laughed and replied loudly as he ran. He did not turn around, but Xiaoyu heard him clearly and continued to lie down on the grass. Yi ran a little further away from Xiaoyu before slowing down. As he walked, he secretly smiled and bit his lips shyly, like a young girl who had fallen in love for the first time. She was wearing the dark red uniform issued by the station. It was a loose, long-sleeved sportswear with waterproof material. As she walked, it made a rough sound as it rubbed against the fabric. In the past she did not like to wear such clothes. They were ugly and the sound was unpleasant. But today when she heard these sounds she felt that they were like musical notes. The phone in her pocket was already a little hot from her grip. She took it out, placed it under her chin and slowly walked on the grassland. The broken wildflowers under her feet also fluttered with the waves of the green grass in the wind, just like her mood. Her phone was already pressed against her teeth. As she laughed, she went from being silent to giggling. She pressed the button. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. It was still too early. He must be very busy at this time. It was very likely that he was still in a meeting at this time. If she called him now, it would definitely affect his work. How long did his meetings usually last? She had never asked before. She had to ask next time. She looked at the time from time to time. It should be done in 10 minutes. He had meetings every day. There shouldn't be that much to talk about, right? When she called, it was a long and tedious music. She heard a robotic female voice saying, "The number you have dialed is currently unavailable. Please try again later." Yi hung up. It seemed like he was really busy. She turned around and saw Xiaoyu, who was wearing the same clothes as her, lying on the ground in the distance. She was probably playing with the wildflowers in the grass. Forget it. I'll call him later. Slowly walked towards Xiaoyu, the faint sound of the wind gently caressing her skin. Her hair was tied up, and her ponytail was blown up by the wind. The ringtone of her phone started to sing cheerfully. Looking at the number jumping on the screen, snickered and turned around. She picked up the call and said softly, "Hello." Jiang Zhao was stunned. He was originally sitting on the chair, but he suddenly stood up. She often called him that, but her mood was clearly different from usual. He could even hear the adoration in her voice. Was it an illusion? Yunyi, what are you doing? What do you think? Yi lowered her head and kicked her heels with the tips of her feet. She heard the man on the other end of the phone exhale deeply. He pushed up the sunglasses on his face. At this moment all the cells in his body were singing the song of yearning. Yi heard the man's breathing and could imagine that he must be surprised. She imagined him stopping in front of her. She tilted her head and clamped the phone on her shoulder. She reached her hand up to her eyes and seemed to be adjusting something. That was the position of the man's tie. She could help him adjust it and loosen it. She also helped him undo one of the buttons. Then she stroked down the tie and caressed his chest to help him calm down. She leaned forward slightly as if she was nearing his embrace. She softly said, Zhao, the grasslands here are so beautiful. The blue sky is so clear, the white clouds are so white, the air is so clear. Everything is so clean as if there are no impurities. Zhao. When I look at the sky, I see you smiling at me. You're so handsome. Yi's eyes stung and tears fell. Then she giggled and said, Zhao, you're so handsome. You're so handsome that I miss you. Jiang Zhao held the phone, tugged at his tie and unbuttoned it. His big hand stroked down the tie, caressing his heart, which was beating very fast. Although he knew that she always had him in her heart, he did not expect that she would call him to tell him this. If he had known, he would have sent her to that kind of place earlier, so that she could feel that he was handsome earlier and say that she missed him earlier. This woman was really annoying. When she spoke words of love, they were as delicate as strands of hair. She laid the groundwork for so long, but the last 3 words were the main point. This troublesome thing kept saying such sweet words for him. As he listened, he almost cried. When he opened his mouth, he realized that his voice was hoarse. Yunyi, I also miss you a lot. As he called out the woman's name, he flipped through the pile of documents on the table. He couldn't stay in Haicheng any longer. He had to hurry and fly over. Yi held the phone and looked up at the sky. Xiaoya's words echoed in her ears. She said shyly, Ah Zhao, when I go back this time let's have a child. Okay. Jiang Zhao slumped back into his chair. He could have said those 2 words heavily, but he said them softly and weakly. The strong waves in his heart had already made him unable to make a sound. He raised his hand to cover his face, and his palm was wet and slippery. Jiang Zhao calmly ran over and started discussing how to reduce his workload. It wasn't like the past when he had to participate in many things. It was also very tiring to arrange the transfer of work. Fortunately, many of the work could be arranged in the name of training. Jiang Zhao started to make arrangements. However, he had to attend a work meeting with the municipal committee for the next 2 days and couldn't leave. He could only book the plane ticket for the 3rd day. The green and blue grasslands always made people want to see cows and sheep in the wind, as well as those galloping horses. When participating in the competition, the station also had to record some of the local customs of the grasslands and let the popular contestants do some interesting things for publicity. This was also a request made by Brother Station. They didn't forget to spread the local culture at all times. Attention Xinwu 799. Chapter 717. The contestants were filming for the show. Yi and Xiaoya were abusing their position for personal gain. The 2 of them had just learned how to ride a horse. From time to time, they would squeeze the horse's belly and let the horse pace slowly. Later on, they would speed up and raise their whips, valiantly urging the horse to gallop. It was impossible to experience such unbridled and wild gales in Haicheng. This was because when they first learned how to ride a horse, the local herdsman would ride behind them and lead them for a while. If they were in Haicheng, Jiang Zhao or Zhuang Yichen would definitely fly into a rage if they saw a man and a woman touching each other like that. With the patient guidance of the herdsman, they dared to ride a horse for a day. The sense of accomplishment was self-evident. The temperature difference between day and night was huge. At night, the wind was dry and cold. Yi and Xiaoya sat outside the yurt, wrapped in cotton-padded clothes, and looked at the stars. The grassland was blue and clear during the day, and the clouds were like cotton and gauze. At night, the sky was like a large piece of dark blue satin, and the stars were strung together with thin threads that could not be seen clearly. Even though it was a deep blue, it looked like a clear pool. Although it was deep, it was transparent. The stars looked as if they had been carefully wiped countless times with a rag. They were so bright that there was not a single speck of dust. They were white and sparkling, just like the large carrots on the slender fingers of a wealthy lady. Yi, you saw Jiang Zhao again? Xiaoya heard Yi-er's muffled laughter. The 2 of them were originally back to back, but now they turned around and crawled in front of Yi-er. She realized that she was looking at the sky and giggling. You really saw Jiang Zhao? Yi-er pouted and glared at Xiaoya. Humph, I'm not telling you. Xiaoya also snorted. If you don't want to tell me, then don't tell me. I also saw the person I wanted to see. Zhuang Yichen? I'm not telling you. Xiaoya pretended to be pretentious as she stood up and stretched her body. She took a deep breath and bent over to pull Yi-er up from the floor. Go to sleep. We're going horseback riding again tomorrow. We won't be able to play when the show officially starts recording. Yi-er readily agreed. Sure, I want to be first tomorrow. Stop dreaming. You can't outrun me. At this moment, a staff member walked over enthusiastically. Are the 2 beauties going to ride horses tomorrow? Yeah, Xiaoya hooked her arm around Yi-er's. Let's go ride tomorrow. We'll go again after we finish filming this episode. Then I'll get someone to follow you guys tomorrow. Just ride properly and don't get lost. I was worried for nothing. An old horse knows the way, how could it get lost? The staff member was a man in his 40s. He was also wearing a cotton-padded jacket to keep out the cold. When he spoke, he was very candid. Then I'll help you find the horse you rode today. Horses sometimes recognize people. You can ride the one you rode today tomorrow. It'll feel better. Okay. Then I'll have to trouble brother Lu. Yi Er nodded in agreement. Xiaoya waited for the man to leave before she pursed her lips and sneered. Who said that? Don't listen to his nonsense. We're going to change horses tomorrow. If we can't even subdue a horse, how can we ride horses on the grasslands? Sister Xiaoya, I realize that you're even more rebellious than before. I've already changed. Can't you control your temper? Yi Er said as she pulled her arm out of Xiaoya's and hooked her arm around Xiaoya's. You're the older sister. I'll hold you. What a blow. Xiaoya rolled her eyes at Yi Er. You're so much taller than me, yet you're still holding my arm. You're so annoying. Don't call me older sister in the future. You must have snatched all my things when I was younger. That's why I didn't grow taller. Haha. The sound of a car's accelerator could be heard. Xiaoya and Yi Er let go of each other's hands and turned around to look for the source of the sound. In the distance, two white beams of light swayed back and forth. It should be some small mounds on the grasslands that caused the car to move up and down. The car was getting closer and closer. It was either a tourist or a member of the production crew. The locals were all herdsmen and rarely bought such a good off-road car. Seeing the car stop outside the production crew's yurt, Xiaoya tugged at Yi Er's cotton-padded jacket. Did they invite some big star to help out? Why did they send it here so late? It's an off-road car that costs more than 1,000,000 yuan. Even a small star wouldn't be able to use it. Yes, it has nothing to do with us. We're not in their circle. Let's go to sleep. Let's go. The two of them had just turned around when they heard the sound of a car door slamming shut. Then a clear male voice shouted anxiously, Yi Er. Yi Er paused and turned around. The yurt was still lit and the headlights of the off-road car were still on. Unwu chased after Yi Er in a hurry. Yi Er couldn't help but be stunned. Before Unwu could run to Yi Er, the woman in the driver's seat also got out of the car. She took a coat and ran over to put it on Unwu. Unwu put on the coat and turned around to say gently to An, go look for Director Lu and ask him to arrange a place for you to stay. I'll go look for you later. An nodded without any resistance. Then don't take too long. Go. An didn't look at anyone else and turned around. Why are you here? Yi Er saw that Unwu was travel-worn and his gaze was no longer as clear as before. She thought that this boy's gaze would never change, but at this moment she saw the uneasiness and pain in his eyes. Unwu. Yi Er, how have you been these 2 days? Unwu carefully sized up Yi Er. Suddenly, he seemed to realize that he had lost his composure and scratched his head with a smile. And wanted to come to the grasslands to play. I happen to know that the TV station's production team is here. I wanted to save some trouble and save myself the trouble of setting up a tent, so I came to look for her. Yi Er didn't know why, but he felt relieved. He smiled and said, You're here to play? Isn't that great? We're going horseback riding tomorrow. Ask An to come along. Okay. Unwu agreed without a second thought. Xiaoya pulled on Yi Er's sleeves. You guys talk, I'm going to bed. I need to wake up early for the horseback riding tomorrow. Unwu didn't disturb Yi Er too much. He only told her to go horseback riding tomorrow, go to bed early, stay in the yurt at night and go find an inn. When he was at Sea City, Unwu had already contacted the producer of the show. He said that She Empire would be the main sponsor for the next competition, so naturally the producer treated Unwu differently. The small yurt was already prepared. After Unwu walked in, An had already prepared a cup of warm water. She passed the cup to Unwu while her other hand opened to reveal a pile of red and white pills. She passed them to him. Brother, you take these. Unwu accepted the pills and poured into his palm. He tilted his head back and popped them into his mouth. He gulped down a large mouthful of water. An accepted the cup and placed it on the small table. Then she went to prepare some water for Unwu to wash his face. Unwu called after her. An stood still and turned around. Yunwu's jacket was a loose winter jacket. It was casual and had a large pocket. He pulled out a business card from the pocket and passed it to An. Drive the car to the airport and contact this person. I bought you a ticket. Leave as soon as possible. An's heart squeezed and her eyes reddened. She looked at the business card in the young man's hand and shook her head. She mumbled, Why? Don't cry. Listen to me. Unwu pulled An's hand and placed the business card in her hand. I've brought your passport and everything else for you. He'll send you to America. Don't cry. Listen to me. Once you go there, don't ever come back. Do you understand? An had always been calm, but she was always irritated by Unwu. She tore the business card in her hand and tore it into pieces. She threw it at Yunwu's face and said angrily, I don't want it. I don't want it. Why are you chasing me away? I'm not in your way. I didn't tell on you. I didn't prevent you from finding Yunyi. Yunwu's face turned cold. The gentleness in his eyes disappeared instantly and was replaced by a cold and stern look. He shouted, Xian En, and then saw that Unwu was angry. Her body trembled and her lips trembled. She wanted to bite her lips, but she couldn't help but gasp for air. Her tears flowed like water. No matter how dissatisfied she was, she didn't dare to resist. What if I don't leave? You have to leave even if you don't want to. And suddenly squatted on the ground and buried her head between her legs. She opened her mouth and bit on her cotton shirt. She tried to hold back her sobs and her words were slurred. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm going to tell Grandpa. I'm going to tell Grandpa that you didn't go to participate in the acquisition. You sneaked out to find Yunyi. Xiunwu, I'm going to tell on you. I'm going to have Grandpa lock you up and never give you freedom again. Unwu looked at Anan's trembling shoulders and pain flashed through his eyes. He reached out his hand to pat Anan's head. He slowly clenched his fist and stood firm. He took a deep breath and said coldly, Xianan, you're going to tell on me? Get your facts straight. You're just an adopted girl. Who do you think you are? You're just an adopted girl to play with me. You're just a servant of the Shi family. Anan tilted her head and looked at the boy with teary eyes. He said she was just a servant of the Shi family. In his eyes, she was just a servant. Anan's head seemed to be frozen. She looked up at Unwu. I'll leave after you leave, okay? I need to remind you to take your medicine. I'll be punctual. Then, I can take care of myself when it comes to eating and sleeping. When Anan left, it was when the sun rose above the horizon. She begged for mercy the whole night but she couldn't move Unwu. She didn't know what she did wrong but she refused to leave, so Unwu called his men to take her away. Outside the stable in the early morning, Yi-Er, Xiaoya, Unwu and a herdsman were inspecting the horses. The herdsman inspected the horses and then brought them out. The horses that little Ya and Yi-Er rode yesterday, one black and one brown, were handed to them. He also brought out another one for Unyu. Finally, the herdsman brought out the horse that he rode all year round. He touched the horse's mane and said some things that they should pay attention to yesterday. His Mandarin was not standard, but Yi-Er and the others could understand. Welfare Xingwu 799. Chapter 718. Tugging on the reins, he said, Yi-Er, why don't you go back to High City? The temperature difference in the grasslands is so big. Anan can't take it anymore and left. Anan is a child but I'm not. Yi-Er hung a water bottle on his saddle and looked at his leather boots. Thinking about how cool he looked when he was riding a horse, he couldn't help but laugh. You can only ride a horse at the racetrack in High City. The air there isn't as good as here. Unwu looked around and sighed. Isn't it the same wherever you ride a horse? Yi-Er had already prepared the food and drinks. She pulled on the reins and turned around with a smile to look at Unwu, who had already packed up. He was still the same young man, but why did he look so serious? Such an expression shouldn't have appeared on his face. He should have a smile on his face like the morning sun, and not such a turbid expression. Unwu, aren't you going to look for Anan? A strange look flashed across Yinwu's eyes. He nimbly got on the horse, stepped on the stirrups and sat on the saddle. His movements were fluid and smooth. He smiled and said, I want to ride a horse on the grasslands too. To Yi-Er, Unwu was a gentle young man. But at this moment he looked like a romantic swordsman dressed in white who flew out of a wuxia novel. He had a free and uninhibited handsomeness. When he lowered his head to look at her, there was a hint of sadness in his eyes. Yi-Er looked at Unwu with a trace of heartache. Just as she was about to get on the horse, Xiaoya snatched the reins from her hands. I want to change horses. Yi-Er frowned. Didn't you say yesterday that you wanted to ride a horse you were familiar with? No, I want to change horses. You rode faster than me yesterday. It must have something to do with the horse. Xiaoya's horse yesterday was black, while Yi-Er's was brown. In fact, Xiaoya felt that brown looked better than black. Maybe it was because she had ridden a black horse before. In ancient dramas, horses were either white or brown. Who would ride a black horse? Now that they were in an unfamiliar place like the grassland, she didn't want to give in to Yi-Er just because she was the elder sister. Occasionally she would act shamelessly, which was also a very good experience. She pouted with a slight displeasure. You're not willing? Yi-Er shrugged and said nonchalantly, so be it. When Unwu saw Yi-Er walking toward Xiaoya's horse, he reminded him, ride slowly and get used to it. Don't ride so fast the moment you get on the horse. Unwoo, I got it. Xiaoya thought to herself, isn't she Yunwoo's concern for Yi Er a little too obvious? How could he bring his girlfriend out to relax? Clearly he was out to hook up with a mistress behind his girlfriend's back. Bah. Yi Er is not a mistress. Forget it. It's not appropriate to talk about this in front of friends. Xiaoya pulled the saddle, stepped on the stirrups and flipped onto the horse's back. Yi Er did the same. He slowly climbed onto the horse's back. The 4 horses trotted slowly. With the herdsman following them, they felt even more secure. There was another horse following them from a distance. It was Yi Er's bodyguard. He was wondering if there was a need to tell Jiang Zhao that Shi Yunwoo had also come to the grasslands. He took out his phone and dialed. Only then did he realize that there was a limit to the number of calls. Following behind the 4-man team, the bodyguards got even closer. The horses began to trot and gallop. One after another they cheered, "Giddy up! Giddy up!" Their voices resounded through the clouds. This was the first time Unwoo had seen Yi Er so thoroughly happy. The sound of happiness rushed out of her lungs. Hence he followed her horse closer. He couldn't bear to disturb her because of his worries and wanted to keep a close eye on her. After all, riding a horse was a very dangerous thing to do. All of a sudden, there was a horse neighing, screech. Yi Er couldn't help but turn around to take a look. He saw the bodyguard's horse raise its front hooves in the air and let out a long neigh. Then it began to gallop wildly. The bodyguard was a tough and burly man. He was tossed around on the horse's back and nearly fell off it. When the herdsman saw this, he quickly urged his horse over. He shouted anxiously in Mandarin, "Don't kick the horse's stomach. Don't hit it." The bodyguard did as he was told, but the horse continued to gallop wildly. Suddenly it galloped wildly in another direction. The herdsman raised his whip and urged his horse to chase after it. Xiaoya and Yi Er also quickly followed, afraid that something bad would happen. But after running for a short distance, Little Ye's horse suddenly went crazy. It raised its head to the sky and neighed. Then it let out a blood-curdling scream. Little Ye was so scared that her face turned pale. Unwoo suddenly thought of something and quickly shouted, "Yi Er! Don't move. I'll chase after Miss Chiu. Miss Chiu, lower your body. Hold on to the reins tightly. Don't get thrown off by the horse." Xiaoya's feeling of being conquered had completely disappeared. All that was left was fear. She felt like she was about to throw up everything she had eaten in the morning. She didn't feel that the horse's back was very high at the beginning, but now she felt like she was sitting on a frog jump in an amusement park without a seat belt. Xiaoya was close to tears. "I can't hold on to it properly. I can't hold on to it properly. I'm about to get thrown off. I am scared." Unwoo rode over and shouted, "No. If you get thrown off by the horse, you'll be trampled to death. Hold on tight." When Xiaoya heard Yunwoo's words, she could only focus all her energy on holding on to the reins tightly. She pulled them around her hands twice and tried to hold them lower. But this way her hands were strained and it hurt a lot. Unwoo rode over, and just as he dismounted to grab Xiaoya's reins, Xiaoya's horse immediately started galloping. "Unwoo, I'll chase after Sister Xiaoya." Unwoo was worried that Yi Er's horse would also lose control. His horse was probably the safest out of all of them, right? "Yi Er, come down and ride with me." Yi Er couldn't care less. He felt that switching horses was a waste of time. He whipped the horse, squeezed the horse's belly and held the reins tightly. "If anything happens to Xiaoya, Zhuang Yichen will kill me. Her horse is mine." He wasn't afraid that Zhuang Yichen would kill her, but he was afraid that someone around her would get hurt. Unwoo cursed under his breath and mounted his horse to chase after her. Although the horse was no longer jumping wildly in the air, its speed was still shockingly fast. Xiaoya could only hold the reins tightly. Her palms were already scratched and bleeding, but she couldn't feel any pain. She had to resolve the reason for her fear. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to stop her body from trembling. If she ran out of strength, she would definitely be thrown off the horse. "Zhuang Yichen." Xiaoya almost blurted it out. She cried and shouted, "Zhuang Yichen. When I become a ghost, I'll definitely drag you down to accompany me. You bastard." Her ears were filled with the fresh and natural sounds of the grasslands. Her nose was filled with the scent of flowers and grass, but Xiaoya saw blood, saw death and smelled decay. She couldn't suppress it. When she thought of Zhuang Yichen, she could suppress it for a while, but after a while she could smell the decay again. "Zhuang Yichen, aren't you omnipotent? Why can't you marry me? I'm going to die. I'm still an unmarried woman before I die. Where will I put my face if you keep shouting?" Xiaoya cursed in her heart over and over again until she felt the horse suddenly stop. Her entire body was thrown forward due to inertia. When she saw the horse in front of her sink, Xiaoya was shocked. The swamp. She didn't dare to use force. She knew that the more she struggled, the faster she would sink. Just like the horse in front of her. It was such a tall horse, but now only its head was still outside. She felt as if there were countless hands under her feet that were forcefully pulling and dragging her. Her hands were still stretched out on the surface of the mud, but she couldn't reach into her pockets. She wanted to call Zhuang Yichen and tell him that for the past few days, she could see him when she looked at the blue sky and white clouds during the day and the stars and moon at night. Although he was a little despicable and a little perverted, she still saw him. She saw the scene when they first met. She said to him, "Sir, can I treat you to a drink?" At that time, he only smiled faintly and raised his glass to hers. "I don't spend women's money and I don't like women paying for me. So miss, I'll treat you to a drink." She saw the scene when she cried out in pain under him for the first time and scolded him for not knowing how to take care of women. She saw how every time he appeared at her press conference, he would always bring along a stunning beauty to accompany him in order to prevent the outside world from writing about them. She saw how he sat below the stage and gently tugged at the corner of his mouth. She remembered that he was obsessed with cleanliness. She also remembered that he said that he liked the small table lamp at her place because it had the effect of dispelling nightmares. It was just that they hadn't had a proper meal together, and he hadn't given her a proper gift. Other than a tie that she made herself, she hadn't given him anything else. His clothes were always several times more expensive than other people's. Most importantly, she hadn't told him personally that she missed him very much. She should walk up to him, wrap her arms around his neck, tilt her head and smile naughtily. "Zhuang Yichen, I think I've fallen in love with you." Xiaoya hated crying, but at this moment she stuck out her tongue and tasted something salty. She heard the horses neighing and opened her mouth. Her stomach felt like it was being strangled by thick mud. She used all her strength to shout in the direction of the sound, "Don't come over." Yunwa's and Yi Er's horses weren't startled, so when they reached the swamp, they sensed danger and slowly stopped. Yi Er saw that Xiaoya was stuck in the mud and was so frightened that his face turned pale. In a moment of stupidity he wanted to rush over. Looking around, there weren't any obvious puddles and the green grass grew evenly. How could it be a swamp? Even though Unwu was usually calm, he almost lost his composure. He coldly shouted at Yi Er, "Stop right there." Older sister Xiaoya. Even though Yi Er had watched some movies, he didn't know what to do next. The horse refused to move forward. "No, I have to pull her up." Yi Er was afraid that the mud would pull Xiaoya down. His waist was still exposed, but what about later? If Zhuang Yichen finds out that I caused older sister Xiaoya's death, he will definitely kill me. Yi Er's voice trembled uneasily. She always used such a tone to affirm that she had to save Xiaoya, forcing herself to believe that she had to save Xiaoya because she was afraid that she would die. This way she would be braver. "You're not allowed to go over." Unwu bent down and pounded the ground. "As long as I'm here, no one can kill you." Welfare Hongcha 866. Chapter 719. Stay where you are and don't move. I'll go over and think of something. Unwu removed the reins from Yi Er's horse and reminded her, "Yi Er, be good and stay here. Don't distract me and don't move at all. Do you understand?" Yi Er, she looked at Unwu, at this boy who was about her age. She had only seen him as calm as water, aloof from worldly affairs, with pure and clean eyes, face and temperament. She had never felt that he was a proud leader. He was calm, indifferent, calm, self-controlled, and did not show any signs of panic. He gave people an endless sense of security just by looking at him. Yi Er nodded hesitantly. Looking at Unwu like this, she had already forgotten what kind of voice that immortal-like youth had sounded like in the early mornings, afternoons, and dusks of the art street. Unwu held onto his horse as he stomped hard on the ground. He looked for a relatively hard spot on the ground as he walked over to Xiaoya. As he walked over, he comforted Xiaoya. "Xiaoya, Jia, pull open your jacket and pull down your sleeves to your armpits. Don't make any big movements, then use both sleeves to tie a knot in front of your chest. Tighten it a little and tie a dead knot. Remember, don't make any big movements. Don't be nervous, I'll pull you up." Little Ye listened to Enyo's voice. It was faint, like a spring in spring, flowing into her ears with a tinkling sound. It was as if a beam of pale yellow morning light had suddenly lit up in the darkness. Suddenly, her wildly beating heart began to calm down, as if she had taken a tranquilizer. She looked at the elegant youth, pulling the horse and steadily walking towards her step by step. The horse was obviously unwilling to go over, so Unwu walked in front of it. He clearly looked like a weak young man, but he seemed to have infinite strength. He pulled the restless horse and steadily walked towards Xiaoya's quagmire. Ye looked at Yunwu's back and walked forward unyieldingly. The sky above the swamp started to darken, and the sky slowly darkened. His heart started to ache. Unwu, be careful. He took out his phone and wanted to call the ambulance, but there was a limit to the number of calls. Ye, don't move. Don't distract me. Unwu did not turn around. He only responded to Ye calmly. When Ye nodded, that lump of sour air condensed in his nose, making him feel very uncomfortable. I won't move. Xiaoya looked at Unwu and started to unzip her sportswear. The mud was now up to her waist, but her nervousness was easing. Her movements also slowly stopped trembling because of the boy walking towards her. She pulled out her sleeves and tied a knot in front of her chest. Sister Xiaoya, tie a knot until it's dead. I know. I'm just worried that the quality of the clothes won't be good. Later, when the seams are unzipped, these are the uniforms given by the station. Don't worry. The uniforms given by the TV station are of high quality. They're much better than the ones made in your shop. Embroidered pillow, look at how good your clothes are. It's not dirty yet, it's practical. After you come out this time, you have to get this set of clothes fixed and hang it at home. Unwu was afraid that Xiaoya would be nervous and scared, so he joked with her. There was already mud in front of him, so he could not move forward anymore. He tied a knot on one end of the rope in his hand. As he tied the knot, he weighed it in his hand. Unwu held the small knot in his hand and looked at Xiaoya's position. He estimated the length of the rope and tied another knot. Xiaoya's face was already covered in mud. Unwu threw the rope in his hand over. It landed steadily and accurately on Xiaoya's chest. Xiaoya was shocked. His aim was too accurate. Unwu said, Sister Xiaoya, do you still have the strength? Yes. Very good. If you still have the strength, you must reach out and grab the rope later. Don't let your face be buried in the mud. I'm afraid you'll suffocate. Don't move it carelessly. I'm afraid you'll break a bone. Listen to me now. Thread the rope through the fixed sleeve in front of your chest. Okay. Xiaoya followed Yunwu's instructions and threaded the rope through the looped sleeve in front of her chest. Sister Xiaoya, tie a knot. Tie another dead knot. You'll definitely kill me. Okay. Xiaoya tied another knot. She tugged at it to make sure it wouldn't budge. Then she said, Unwu, I'm done. The mud was already up to her chest. Xiaoya felt that it wasn't difficult to breathe. Unwu had already turned around and tied the other end of the rope to the reins of his horse. Then he pulled the horse in the direction he came from. Unwu looked at Xiaoya as he shouted, Ye don't move. Unwu, I'm not moving. I didn't move, you don't have to worry about me. Stood where she was, and the horse beside her was also breathing heavily. It seemed to be unable to suppress its impatience. The more restless the horse was, the more terrified Yu was, and the more dangerous she felt. She couldn't help but sniffle. Every time Unwu told her not to move, she would feel the sour smell in her nose become more and more pungent. Even if she was a block of wood, she should know that with Unwu and Xiaoya's friendship, he would never risk his life for Xiaoya. All those things that she didn't want to understand on a normal day, at this moment she understood everything. Unwu patted the horse as he spoke to Xiaoya. Sister Xiaoya, hold on to the rope and rest your head on your arm. You must not bury your head in the mud. You're wearing boots. If you feel that you can't move anymore, straighten your feet. That way you can take off your shoes and reduce the resistance. The horse neighed. It seemed to be a little slippery. Unwu didn't dare to pat the horse too hard to make it move faster. He was afraid that they might accidentally run into another swamp. Xiaoya's body was uncomfortable from being pulled. The rope was pulled taut. When she rested her head on her arm, she lifted it up with just a little bit of strength. Her chest was already pressed against the swamp, but she felt that her legs were about to break from the pull. Fortunately, her clothes were wrapped around her armpits. They were wide and soft. If she used a rope, she would have died from the pain. Unwu, you're so smart. You're also very smart. You didn't move around recklessly, so hang in there. Don't twist around. Hang in there, Xiaoya nodded. Unwu, you don't have to keep comforting me. Be careful. Ye watched from across the swamp as Unwu led the horse alone. He carefully and calmly tried to save Xiaoya. The horse seemed to have been enduring Yunwu's strong control. It wanted to leave this place immediately. The horses of the grasslands seemed to have a strong will in their bones. Just as Xiaoya was dragged out of the swamp, Unwu released the reins that restrained Xiaoya. The horse suddenly felt relaxed and lifted its front hooves. It raised its head and neighed. Unwu. Yi followed the path Unwu took to find Xiaoya and ran over. Unwu. Xiaoya was also shocked. Unwu was kicked into the swamp by the horse and lay on his back. He heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he was not lying on his stomach. But when he heard Yi-er's voice, he panicked. Yi, I told you to stay where you are. Yi-er remembered the path Unwu took because her eyes never relaxed. She walked to Xiaoya's side and knelt on the wet ground. She hurriedly untied the knot on Xiaoya's chest. She could not say a word and her teeth chattered as she struggled. Xiaoya looked at the knot on her chest. She saw Yi-er's hands on her chest shaking as she untied the knot. She watched as the water droplets fell on Yi-er's hands. Then she pried Yi-er's hands away and untied the knot herself. She was a clothing designer and knew a lot about fabrics and ropes. She twisted the rope until it became a tight fried dough twist and began to untangle it inch by inch. The sky was getting darker. Yi-er snatched the rope from Xiaoya's hands and walked to where the horse was standing. She imitated Unwu and tied a knot on one end of the rope. No matter how much Unwu scolded her, she could not hear him. She weighed the knot in her hand and felt that it was heavier. Then she threw it at Unwu. It was crooked and she threw it again. Unwu was a little far from her. Yi-er was so anxious that she cried. Sister Xiaoya, how did this happen? How did this happen? Unwu clearly threw it in front of you just now, but why can't I throw it? Why can't I throw it? Xiaoya was covered in mud and stood beside Yi-er like a clay figurine. Her shoes were gone, but she did not pay much attention to it. She took the rope from Yi-er's hands and imitated Unwu. Then she threw it. It was crooked. Yunwu's breathing quickened, but he forcefully suppressed the rise and fall in his voice. He patiently propped his head with his hand and frowned. Yi-er, listen to me. You and Sister Xiaoya should take advantage of the fact that the sky is not completely dark to slowly walk back. Remember to test the water with your feet as you walk. Hold a rock in your hand and throw it or bend down to knock on the ground in front of you. If it's soft, don't step on it. Don't be anxious. It's not far from here. If you don't go now, you won't be able to walk out when it gets dark. Unwu, don't say anything. Don't say anything. Yi-er snatched the rope from Xiaoya's hands and walked slowly around the swamp. He wanted to find a place that was closer to Unwu. Unwu felt his body sinking. He moved his arms and moved smoothly. Yi-er, you don't have to worry about me. I can get out. You go first. I have more experience in surviving in the wilderness than you do. Yi-er turned a deaf ear to him. It was only when he reached Yunwu's head that he realized this place was very close. He could not go around anymore. It was a little soft in front of him, so he threw the rope in his hand. Finally, it reached Yunwu's hand. Unwu, hold on to it. I can get out. You and Sister Xiaoya should take this opportunity. The sky is not dark yet. Hurry up and leave. There's a lot of methane in the swamp. Don't you know that it's poisonous? Hurry up and leave. Unwu, if you refuse, I'll go down and pull you up. Yi-er's eyes were shining stubbornly. He stood there and raised his hand to wipe the water stains on his face. Xiaoya was already exhausted, but she still walked along Yi-er's path. She held the rope with Yi-er. Unwu, I'll pull you up with Yi-er. Did they think it was that easy to pull someone out of the swamp? Unwu ignored them. He moved his arms inch by inch and pushed his back. He moved slowly. Yi-er's expression turned cold. He placed the rope in his hand and Xiaoya's hand and turned around to walk back to the horse. Unwu was shocked. Yi-er, stay away from it. If it doesn't listen, it'll kick you. Welfare Hongcha 866. Chapter 720. I don't want to talk. It's a waste of energy. Yi-er replied calmly. She reached out and gently stroked the horse's mane. She leaned her face against the horse's face and rubbed against it. She gripped the reins tightly and whispered, Be good, be good. Pull Unwu up. I beg you. Pull Unwu up. She led the horse slowly and coaxed it to Xiaoya's position. She looked at the boy who was covered in mud. She steadied her trembling voice and said fiercely, Unwu, do what Sis Xiaoya did just now. I'll pull you up quickly. Yi-er looked at the swamp. It was full of holes and there was very little space for them to walk through. She said to Xiaoya, Sis Xiaoya, go back to where you came from just now. It's wide. It can't hold so many people. Yi-er, I'll help you here. You can't help me. Sis Xiaoya, go over there. Yi-er's voice was cold. She pulled the reins and tied them together with the rope she had thrown to Unwu. Xiaoya nodded. Be careful. I will. Unwu pulled the rope tight and frowned. Yi-er, just pull like this. Unwu, it'll be troublesome if you can't pull steadily like this. Also, it'll take too much effort. Just like what Sis Xiaoya did just now. Ye, listen to me. It's not easy to walk through here. The space is too narrow. The horse won't listen to you. I'll hold on tight. Hit it hard later. If it pulls me out, I'll let go. Unwu did not dare to imagine what would happen if the horse lost control again and kicked Yi into the swamp. Yi nodded and slapped the horse's butt. Her hands went numb from slapping, but the horse refused to move. It even retreated a little. Yi, if you can't hit it, forget it. Stay away from it. It won't retreat too much. I'll pull it up. Enyu felt as if something sharp had pierced his body from behind. His back stiffened and he let out a muffled groan, but it was barely audible. Yi was anxious. Unwu, don't worry. It'll be done soon. She didn't dare to look back at Ainu's body, which was lying flat on the ground, sinking deeper and deeper. She could only sniff at Ainu, causing large drops of sparkling and translucent tears to fall. Yi reached into her pocket and found a bunch of keys with a small Swiss Army knife attached to it. It was only 5 or 6 centimeters long, but it cost nearly 2,000 yuan. Jiang Zhao had given it to her, saying that there were some small tools in it that were small and convenient. Yi pulled out the knife. Yi's gaze became colder and colder. She was still a little afraid. Her heart was beating fast. She held the knife in her hand and aimed it at the horse's butt. Unwu, use your energy. Once you reach me, let go. With that, she stabbed the knife hard into the horse's butt. Screech. The horse whinnied in pain. Yi quickly retreated. The horse charged forward. When Unwu was pulled out of the swamp, the horse also sank into the next swamp. Seeing the horse struggling in the swamp, Yi bit her lip. She couldn't bear to see it and turned her head away. Unwu quickly stood up. He pulled Yi and Xiaoya along the path they came from. They carefully walked out. The horse that had lost its reins refused to move. Unwu said, forget it. Let's think of a way to get out. This is the border. It won't be too dangerous. Let's walk for a while. It might catch up. Yi and Xiaoya nodded obediently. Along the way no one said anything pretentious. Can't you make a call? Unwu asked mildly when they finally walked out of the swamp. Yi's hand was still in Yunwu's grip. She didn't break free. She knew that Unwu was just holding her hand out of habit. He was just afraid that she would accidentally fall into the swamp. Among the three of them she was the cleanest. Xiaoya and Unwu couldn't see their original appearances. Their clothes were covered in black mud. The darker the sky, the colder the air. Yeah, I can't make a call. There's a restriction on the number of calls. I don't know why. If you can't make a call, then so be it. Maybe it's natural. Maybe it's man-made. Yunwu's voice became softer as they walked. Yi could no longer see Yunwu's expression clearly. She could only hear that although his voice was weak, it was still very calm. Unwu panted and slowly sat down. The sky was dark, but the moon was still bright. He raised his head and smiled at Yi. His white teeth could be seen. Yi, I need to rest. I pulled Xiaoya just now and fell into the mud. I'm almost out of energy. You guys keep walking. I'll catch up with you later. Yi sat down beside Unwu. I'm tired too. I need to rest. Xiaoya leaned against Yi and sat down. She leaned against her. Me too. The three of us should lean against each other. It's so cold. Yi wanted to take off her jacket. I'm dry. To Xiaoya, I'll let you wear it. There's no need. It's cold, but the wind is very dry. My clothes have been blown dry. Feel it? The mud has dried up. Xiaoya grinned at Yi. Yi touched Xiaoya's back. It was true. The mud was so dry that it prickled her hand. She casually touched Yunwu's back. Unwu stood up and dodged. Yi's expression changed. She raised her hand to herself. The moonlight was like silver. Although the color of her hand couldn't be seen clearly, Yi could clearly feel the stickiness. Trembling, she put her hand to her nose and looked at Unwu, who was on the verge of collapsing. She stood up as well. After a few hours, tears rolled down her cheeks again. She choked and whispered, Unwu. When Yi held Unwu in her arms, she started to hate the endless grasslands. There was no place to block out the wind, and the cold wind from the night drilled into their bones from all directions without any scruples. Yi couldn't forget how Unwu looked when he finally collapsed in front of her. He even smiled and told her that he was fine. He was just tired from walking and wanted to rest for a while. Xiaoya sat a few meters away from Yi. She fiddled with Yi's phone. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't make a call. But the screen turned black. She just held the phone and buried her head in her knees. Is it really necessary for you to change your view of a person to this extent before it can change? At least, Xiaoya remembered that Unwu had said that after they got out of the swamp, he would hang the uniform she was wearing at home. Actually, the uniform wasn't for the person she was supposed to be serving. It was for Unwu. She couldn't turn her head to look. She only felt terrible. When her life was hanging by a thread, it was a boy who had nothing to do with her who saved her. And now that boy was lying in her best friend's arms. His eyes were closed and he would say a few words from time to time. She heard her best friend sniffling and from time to time she would reply with choked sobs. The horse didn't follow them out. Otherwise they could carry Unwu and continue walking. But that wouldn't do. If a person, especially a man who was over 1.8 meters tall, didn't have any strength, how many women would have the strength to carry him for long? Yi-Er tried before but she couldn't hold on for long. She and Yi-Er tried to carry Unwu forward, but she wasn't tall enough. All her strength was carried by Yi-Er. Together they couldn't even walk a kilometer. Now they were resting in a place that hadn't changed at all. At a glance, there was only the boundless night sky and the boundless dark grassland. There were no more wildflowers or butterflies. There was only the eerie aura of death. Yi-Er placed Unwu on his side. She placed her clean legs under his head so that he could sleep more comfortably. Her dry coat was wrapped around his body. The temperature difference in the grassland was very large. The night was very cold, but Yi-Er couldn't feel the cold anymore. He didn't know what had pierced his back, but there was a long wound. The smell of blood was really disgusting. Yi-Er. In the darkness, it was hard to see what Yunwu's lips looked like. She could only hear that his voice was very dry, as if he was dehydrated. There wasn't a trace of color in it. Yi-Er touched Yunwu's face and gently comforted him. Unwu, it's daybreak. I'll go find water. Yi-Er, don't feel guilty. Unwu. Yi-Er, actually, I don't need to feel sad. I'm going to die. Even if I didn't come this time, I would still die. Don't talk nonsense. Yi-Er's hand was on Yunwu's face and he couldn't stop trembling. My heart isn't good. I had a heart transplant when I was 8. I don't have a long life to begin with. Unwu said this without much regret. It was as if he was talking about someone else and had nothing to do with him. Do you know Anin? She didn't leave because of the temperature difference in the grassland. She was chased away by me. I couldn't keep her around. Grandpa is a person who plans ahead for a rainy day. Anin is a child he adopted. I only just found out that Anin was a match with me since she was young. Grandpa adopted her so that when my heart fails one day he could swap it with hers. Even though it was night and there were only the stars and moonlight, Yi-Er felt like he was looking at a mirror in front of him. His eyes were wide open in shock. Anin grew up with me. She's my little sister. How could I do that? If one day I have to sacrifice my little sister to survive, I can't do it. Furthermore, the surgery might not be a 100% success rate. If I don't live, Anin won't live either. Unwu sighed. I really can't do it. I've sent Anin away. Even if today's incident didn't happen, I won't be able to live for long, so don't feel guilty, don't blame yourself, just be a good Mrs. Jiang. When the sun rises, you and Sister Xiaoya go out, go to a place with good water plants, maybe you'll meet a herdsman. If you stay here and guard me without contacting the outside transportation, you'll die. Even though Yunwu's voice was soft, he tried his best to speak in a steady and continuous manner. He thought that this way Yi-Er wouldn't notice his weakness. Yi-Er shook his head. He hugged the boy's head and shook his head. Unwu, I won't leave you behind. I won't. No matter what the reason is, I won't leave you behind. Hi. Unwu sighed. Yi-Er, let's talk about something else. Have I ever told you that I like you? Then do you know that I like you? I know. Yi-Er, if I had told you earlier before Jiang Zhao, that I like you and want to be with you, would you have been with me? Would I? Yes. Unwu reached out and placed his hand on Yi-Er's thigh. He brought it close to his face and then placed his hand under his face. It was very cold, but at this moment he felt a warm liquid dripping onto the back of his hand. It was warm and very hot. Yi-Er, in your next life, please be with me. I'll wait for you, okay? Yi-Er shook his head. Under the moonlight, his face was already glistening. He reached out to wipe the water off his face and bit his lip. He touched Yunwu's face with one hand and clutched his thigh with the other. I don't believe in the next life. Powerful novel Xinwu 799. Chapter 721. You really don't understand romance. Unwu squeezed out a faint smile from his throat. It was as if they were still on that arch street. He stood there with his easel propped up, his eyes as clear as water, glancing at her from time to time. Then he would dip his brush in ink and carefully paint. That voice was just a casual tease. You love Jiang Zhao so much. Even if I were to live in this life, you wouldn't marry me. Even if I tried to snatch you away, I wouldn't be able to win. I asked you to make a promise to a next life, but you refused. Petty. Yi clutched her leg, the pain was unbearable. Unwoo, I don't believe in a next life. Believe in it? Let me have some thoughts. At least give me some hope. There was a kind of voice as lonely as snow. There was a kind of waiting as lonely as snow, as white as the sky, with a hint of desolation. Yi shamelessly realized that her heart was hurting. Other than Jiang Zhao, she was hurting for another man. Her tears were like diamonds shining under the moonlight, sprinkling on the boy's face. Unwoo. Unwoo let out a long sigh. His breath was getting weaker and weaker. So what if I believe in a next life? Yi held Yunwoo's hand tightly as if trying to hold on to his weak breath. Unwoo, I believe in you. Unwoo chuckled softly with a trace of satisfaction. He had been lying on her leg with his back facing her, but at this moment he turned his head, opened his eyes and looked at Yi. The moon was like silver. Under the clear moonlight, his gaze was as clear as water. The joy in his eyes was as dazzling as the sunlight in the day. Then in the next life marry me? You're not allowed to regret it. I'll let you go in this life and let you live happily with Jiang Zhao. I won't regret it. Yi, you can't forget. Remember that you promised me a next life. I won't forget. Unwoo, I won't forget. Yi couldn't see the pair of gems that reflected the moonlight. His eyes closed again. Yi hugged Yunwoo's head tightly. No matter how much she shouted, Unwoo didn't respond to her. Yi's shoulders trembled violently. She choked with grief. Unwoo, don't sleep. Unwoo, you're going to the other world so early. Do you want me to die too? Can't you live a few more years and wait for me? Unwoo. After a while, Unwoo weakly said, Yi, if I'm lucky enough to live a little longer, let me pursue you just once. The thing I regret the most in my life is missing you and letting Jiang Zhao beat me to it. What a pity. Yi hurriedly nodded. Okay. Then you must pursue me. The thing I regret the most in my life is not being pursued properly. Unwoo. Anyway, I'm already divorced. You can do it. We're both single. You must pursue me. Ah. Unwoo chuckled, but only he could feel the bitterness in his throat. It was so bitter that even his tongue felt numb. Yes, I'll definitely pursue you properly and learn everything I can about pursuing girls. Yi, you're the first girl I've ever liked. You're the only girl I've ever liked. I must pursue you. Yi didn't know why, but Yunwoo's words were always very coherent. Although he was a little weak, he didn't seem to be panting and seemed very stable. But after he finished speaking, there would be no response for a long time. It was as if this person would never speak again. It caused the surroundings to be shrouded in a heavy aura of death. Countless military off-road vehicles were sweeping the grassland in all directions with their headlights on. The barking of police dogs could be heard one after another on the grassland. Helicopters were flying along the grassland with high-powered searchlights on the ground, searching carefully. Jiang Zhao sat in the helicopter. His ears were filled with the deafening sound of the propellers and motors. He looked out the window. Under the high-powered searchlights, the grassy plains were fanned by the propellers. The wind was blowing, causing ripples on the grassy plains. His brows were furrowed tightly, and his face looked as if it was carved out of stone. It was so cold that it was hard. The meeting was not over yet. When he heard that Yi was missing, he left everything behind and left. The bodyguards had been found, but Yi was still missing. Ever since the search and rescue was arranged, he had not said a word. He only looked at every corner that he could see. He was so serious that even the pilot was a little shocked. There was another person who had the same expression as him. It was Zhuang Yichen, who was sitting at the back of the helicopter. This was the first time Zhuang Yichen and Jiang Zhao were sitting together in public. But their purpose was the same. They were looking for someone. He didn't have the time and mood to reminisce. He just wanted to find that woman as soon as possible. The walkie-talkie was reporting some useless information. Jiang Zhao and Zhuang Yichen could only focus their attention outside. At this time, a long string of coordinates was reported from the walkie-talkie. The pilot replied excitedly, Roger, Roger. Snow Wolf, Roger. Mayor Jiang, we found 3 people over there. Let's go over now. Jiang Zhao immediately sat down. 3 people? Yes, 3 people. Xiaoya was holding her mobile phone and turned on the flashlight function. She pointed at the helicopter in the sky. There are people over here. There are people over here. When Zhuang Yichen saw Xiaoya, his heart skipped a beat. Who was that person? Her hair was all black and even her hair was covered with mud. Usually she would not make such exaggerated movements. But he could still catch a familiar figure from those exaggerated movements. On the other hand, Jiang Zhao recognized her at a glance. It was so cold at night and she was not wearing much. The strong light shone on her, but she did not even lift her head. She just hugged the head of the person who was lying on her lap tightly. She lowered her head. Before Unwu was sent to the operating theater, Shi Jintian rushed over. Unwu had been put on an 4 drip and was no longer in a coma. In the ward, Shi Jintian was crying on top of Unwu. When he called out his grandson's name, he felt he had aged instantly. Unwu. Unwu pulled Shi Jintian, and Shi Jintian put his ear close to Yunwu's lips. Don't touch her again. I beg you. Unwu was struggling to speak. Shi Jintian was shocked and looked at his grandson. You know about it? This was considered a silent acknowledgement. Unwu knew about Shi Jintian's love for him. When he thought about it, he regretted that he always stayed in the studio. It made his grandfather think that Yi Er was bothering him. That was why he wanted to kill her to get some peace and quiet. The two families would not be hurt. But if Yi Er was really dead, he would rather die early. How could he get some peace? He touched Shi Jintian's hand and said softly and intermittently, Yes, I know. But I won't tell anyone. Grandpa, don't touch her again. From the beginning to the end, it was my wishful thinking. She didn't do anything wrong. But Shi Jintian did not expect Unwu to see through him like this. She is my wish to live. Grandpa promises you. Unwu seemed to be worried and refused to let go of Shi Jintian's hand. Even if I'm not around, don't touch her. Unwu, you're not allowed to talk nonsense. Yunwu's eyes reddened and he said anxiously. Grandpa, I didn't even kill Jiang Zhao. How could you hurt her? How could you bear to hurt me like this? Yunwu's eyes were filled with deep pain. Do you know how many times I wanted to kill Jiang Zhao? I even loaded the gun. You know how accurate my shooting is. I know how to assemble a gun. If I really wanted to kill him in a chaotic situation, they wouldn't be able to trace it back to me. But Grandpa, you didn't allow it. You said that I couldn't hurt anyone from the Jiang and Qin families. You were talking about righteousness and kindness. But Yi Er is Jiang Zhao's wife. She is also a member of the Jiang and Qin families. How could you? Unwu, you're a femme fatale. Shi Jintian felt his heart ache when he thought about how Unwu was obsessed with a woman in the past. How could he let a woman ruin Yunwu's life? Once a person died, they would slowly forget everything. Grandpa, you said that a femme fatale? What was the cause of the disaster when I was 8? Unwu calmed down and looked at Shi Jintian indifferently. Shi Jintian didn't expect that Unwu would still use the murder case to provoke him at this time. Grandpa, you should be grateful to her. You should be grateful to her for letting your grandson experience the feelings in this world other than family. At least he didn't come to this world in vain, right? Yunwu's clear eyes overflowed with tears. Grandpa, I love you. I also love. Yi Er, don't hurt her anymore, okay? Shi Jintian couldn't look into Yunwu's eyes. He turned his head, clenched his fists and said solemnly, Okay. The wheeled hospital bed was pushed out of the ward and into the operating room. Shi Jintian chased after it to the door of the operating room. His gaze was locked there without moving. The hospital was arranged by Jiang Zhao. It was a local military hospital. Outside the window, the sky was filled with stars, but he wasn't in the mood to enjoy them. Xiaoya had suffered some cuts in the swamp. Now she was lying on the hospital bed, clean and clean. Medicine was applied to her wounds and she was hooked up to an 4 drip. It was an anti-inflammatory drug. The ward was a little crowded. There were no separate rooms, so Xiaoya and Yi Er stayed together. Because Yi Er was in a daze, Jiang Zhao was worried that it was because of the miasma in the swamp, so he patiently stayed with her. Actually, it was just to comfort himself. After seeing Unwu fall into her arms like that, how could he not overthink? Moreover, after hearing Xiaoya's story, Jiang Zhao was upset that he wasn't the one by her side at that time. Xiaoya leaned against the headboard. Zhuang Yichen sat on the round stool in front of the bed and analyzed. Your horse is already submerged in the swamp, but there's something wrong with Yi Er's bodyguard's horse. There are steel needles under the saddle, but they're not very long. Only when the horse moves harder and harder while riding will the steel needles pierce into the horse's back. You won't notice it for a while. Zhuang Yichen, let's break up. Zhuang Yichen obviously didn't expect Xiaoya to suddenly say something like this. He came all the way here and this was all she said to him? He said coldly, looks like you're too tired. Sleep early. Xiaoya looked up. She thought about how Unwu had saved her while shouting for Yi Er not to move around. Her tears were about to fall. People would only feel deep sorrow when they were like her, right? How much did Unwu love Yi Er that he would save someone who had nothing to do with him for Yi Er? That feeling made her go crazy with jealousy. As her tears fell, she looked up at the man who had already stood up. She pulled out the needle in her hand and threw it away. You can either break up with me or marry me. It's your choice. Don't even think about threatening me. This time, even if you want to kill my whole family, I won't give in. Attention Xinwu 799. Chapter 722. Jiang Zhao heard the argument behind him and turned around. He happened to see Zhuang Yichen's flat back swaying slightly. Nonsense. Zhuang Yichen pressed Xiaoya back into the blanket and turned around to look for the nurse. Xiaoya didn't argue. She lay there quietly. Don't you think it's troublesome? Do you think it's a pity that you didn't collect my body today? Zhuang Yichen turned around. Little demon Qiu, have you had enough? Xiaoya turned her back and pulled the blanket calmly. Anyway, I'm still going to say the same thing. If we don't get married, then we'll break up. This time I'll pretend that I'm dead. Zhuang Yichen, when I knew I was dying, my mind was filled with you. At that time, I was wondering if I should tell you that I seemed to have fallen in love with you. But my hand was outside the quagmire and my phone was in my pocket. I couldn't possibly tell you that I've been with you for 4 years and in the end, that's my only wish. Suddenly, Xiaoya felt a wave of astringent air coming out from her stomach and choking her throat, making her unable to continue speaking. Her face was cupped by the man's large hand. After a while, he said leisurely, "Do you like a Chinese wedding or a Western one?" Xiaoya held the man's hand and covered her face. She cried for a long time before she came back to her senses. She turned around and looked at the man sitting by her bed in shock. What kind of wedding do you like? Chinese or Western? Xiaoya was stunned. Her smile was uglier than her crying face. She happily wrapped her arms around Zhuang Yichen's neck. Zhuang Yichen, did I succeed in forcing you to marry me? Did I? Let's go back and choose a ring and a wedding dress. Xiaoya only knew that the man's voice was soft and gentle. It sounded like he was doting on her, but she ignored the hint of panic in his voice. Jiang Zhao held Yi Er's hand and asked Zhuang Yichen, "Can I not know about the wedding?" Xiaoya wrinkled her nose and snorted. "No, you have to bow." Jiang Zhao laughed. "Haha." Yi Er asked Xiaoya, "Sister Xiaoya, what gift do you like?" Xiaoya shook her head. "No, I want cash." When Yi Er saw that Xiaoya was happy, he was naturally happy as well. His mood also improved a lot. "No, talking about money hurts our relationship." When Jiang Zhao saw the smile on Yi Er's face, he relaxed a little. Xiaoya hugged Zhuang Yichen's waist and leaned into his embrace as she looked at Yi Er. She was so proud that it seemed like she was showing off. Talking about relationships hurts money. Our friendship is stronger than gold. Zhuang Yichen pushed Xiaoya away and said coldly, "No matter how strong it is, you have to take the anti-inflammatory medicine. It's over." When Xiaoya saw that Zhuang Yichen had gone out to call the doctor again, she muttered, "He really doesn't understand romance at all." But her eyes were filled with endless happiness. Unwu woke up a few hours after he came out of the operating room. When the sun rose, he asked his grandfather and the servants to buy chocolate-flavored popcorn. In the afternoon, he got out of bed and took the popcorn that the servants bought from the cinema to Yi Er and Xiaoya's place. Coincidentally, Jiang Zhao was there. Unwu acted as though he didn't see him. He walked to the other side of the bed and handed the popcorn to Yi Er. His clear eyes held a gentle smile. "It's chocolate-flavored. I don't know if it's the same as the ones you used to eat." Zhuang Yichen frowned. Jiang Zhao reached out to take the popcorn and placed it on the bedside table. It was one thing to be grateful to Unwu for keeping Yi Er safe, but the nature of a love rival didn't change. He said to Yi Er, "Even though you're not injured, the miasma in the swamp is poisonous. You should be careful and not eat anything carelessly. Popcorn is very explosive." Unwu didn't seem to care about Jiang Zhao. He only looked at Yi Er intently. Yi Er thought about the promise she made to Unwu. She thought about the words he said and the pain in her heart still lingered. She sat up in bed and put on her shoes. She stood beside Unwu. "Unwu, thank you. It must be delicious." Her voice choked. She remembered that one time she brought popcorn to the art street and treated him to it. "Try it. It's chocolate-flavored. It's not bad." "Men don't like to eat things like that." "What?" "Nowadays, young men and women all like to eat things like that. They eat it when they watch movies to kill time." She opened the packaging and ate it herself. It turned out that he remembered it after that one time. Jiang Zhao suddenly felt a stone pressed down on his heart. He had never known that Yi liked to eat things like that. He had never known. Seeing Jiang Zhao stand up, Unwu smiled. He actually didn't want Jiang Zhao to misunderstand. It was just that there were some things that he wanted to do in the past but couldn't. He wanted to fulfill some of his wishes. He was a little selfish, but he had already made himself magnanimous enough. You rest. I'll go rest too. When Jiang Zhao saw Unwu leave the room, he didn't say anything and followed him out. Yi was afraid that Jiang Zhao would do something stupid again, but when she went out, she saw that Jiang Zhao and Unwu were clearly heading in different directions. When Jiang Zhao returned, Yi found out that Jiang Zhao had gone to get discharged. On the plane, just as Yi was about to speak, the silent Jiang Zhao interrupted her. Yunyi, don't even think about falling in love with someone else. Ah Zhao, I promised Unwu that he would pursue me. Yunyi, you're really something. Jiang Zhao glanced sideways and saw Yi looking at him with tears in her eyes. His heart ached. You've only been separated from me for a few days. Ah Zhao, listen to me. I don't want to listen. Unwu is going to die soon. Yi reached out to cover her face. She was afraid that she would lose her composure, but she still felt unbearable grief. He only had one wish. Jiang Zhao looked up. He wasn't wearing a shirt or suit, so he thought that his tie was strangling his neck. When he reached out to pull it off, he realized that he wasn't on a business trip. He was only wearing a simple t-shirt. Don't try to fool me with this. Yi pressed her palm against her forehead and rubbed it. He had a heart transplant when he was 8 years old. He's going to die soon. When I checked his breathing, he was almost out of breath. After thinking for a long time, Jiang Zhao couldn't calm down when he heard the heartache in the woman's voice beside him. At a time like this, he had actually lost to Xiunwu. Just because he was healthy, Xiunwu was going to die? I can give him other things in return for protecting you, but I don't agree to this. He only wants to pursue me. I won't do anything to let you down. Jiang Zhao looked at Yi. How was she asking for his opinion? She was clearly forcing him. Her attitude was so unyielding. He reached out to pinch her chin and pointed his index finger at her heart. Then what about your heart? Does your heart belong to me 100%? Yi's eyes suddenly flashed. She avoided his piercing gaze. My heart won't change, Ah Zhao. From the beginning to the end, I've only ever loved one man, and that's you. In the past, now, and in the future. Jiang Zhao released his hand and smiled sadly. Yunyi, you're so straightforward and sure. Are you trying to convince me or yourself? Yi refused to back down. She said that she would never go back on her word to Unwu. Never. Because of Yun Hongwei's matter, Jiang Zhao didn't dare to recklessly get close to him. They still lived separately. It wasn't until Enyu returned to Haiqing and began to take on the responsibility of sending Yi to work that Jiang Zhao finally couldn't sit still anymore. He directly moved into Zhuang Yichen's house and chased Zhuang Yichen out of 9th Mansion. Yi, I realized that the sky is a little gray today. But when I thought of seeing you again, the sky in my heart suddenly turned blue. I wish you happiness. Yi opened the door. The person who delivered the flowers at the door handed them to her and took out his own light blue card. It was Yunwu's handwriting. She could almost see how happy he was when they were at the art street. She carried the flowers and went downstairs. Unwu was waiting there. Yi, did you sleep well last night? Very well. How about you? Unwu opened the car door for Yi. I had a good night too. I had a good night's sleep. And so it went on day after day. Yi, when I went to discuss the bid yesterday, I saw a girl in their company's HR department with hair that looked like yours. But your hair is longer than hers. When you tied it up, it was a little curly. Later on, I realized that it wasn't that similar. It was only because you both had a part black and part yellow. I wish you happiness every day. It was a purple card. Yunwu's handwriting wasn't as wild as Jiang Zhao's. It was delicate and strong. Yi, after I sent you to work yesterday, it started raining and the roads were very congested. But when I thought of how happy you were walking down the stairs with the flowers I gave you in a ponytail, I suddenly felt like the sky had cleared up. I wish you happiness too. It was a pink card. Yi, do you still remember when you wore a white dress? It was very beautiful, just like Xiao Longnu, but you couldn't move. When you stood still, you looked like Xiao Longnu, but when you moved, you looked like Huang Rong. Tell me, am I right? I think you're really cute like this. So I really like this side of you. It was a card that was half white and half bright red. The bright red half was obviously drawn on by Unwu himself. After an entire week, Jiang Zhao couldn't tolerate this anymore. No matter how Yi Er felt about it, he couldn't accept it. But if he spoke more harshly, Yi Er would say, "Aren't we divorced?" And she would say something like, "It's not like I've done anything inappropriate with Unwoo. We haven't even held hands." Good Lord, so what if they hadn't held hands? Psychological infidelity was still infidelity. At this juncture, could he say that he hadn't even signed the divorce agreement? Could he say that they hadn't gotten a divorce certificate? Of course he couldn't say that with that woman's IQ. He could still deceive her a little. The reason for their divorce was because of Yun Hongwei. This was a bottom line that no one wanted to cross. He couldn't even tell her that they were still husband and wife. He was thinking that this was his retribution, right? Back then he was so confident that he could have her in the palm of his hand. With one phone call and timing, even if she had just come out of the bathroom dripping wet, she would still have to run downstairs to see him. He had always been controlling her, but now his emotions were being led by the nose by her. Was this the legendary inner strength backlash? Beauty novel Shinwoo 799. Chapter 723. It was a Sunday morning and the sun was shining brightly. The white Maserati opened up and there was a huge bouquet of purple and gold roses in the back seat. It was very beautiful and the bouquet was stuck in the back seat. A smaller girl would probably drown in it if she held it in her arms. Such a rare flower was obviously flown in from abroad. It was very difficult to cultivate and the production was very low. Such a huge bouquet was worth millions. The boy who was driving smiled casually. His features were delicate and pretty. His handsome and elegant temperament attracted the hearts of the young girls on the road. It was a flight. The car drove into 9th Mansion. Today Jiang Zhao did not generously let Yer do as she pleased. Instead he waited downstairs early in the morning. Good heavens, didn't he ask the florist to send flowers today? Such a huge bouquet would crush someone to death. Jiang Zhao walked over. He felt that Unwoo did not change much from before. He walked over like a gentleman. Unwoo got out of the car and greeted politely, "Good morning, brother Zhao." Good morning. Why did Jiang Zhao feel so uncomfortable? Was he the one who went to look for Xiunwu? Xiunwu was more generous than him? Oh, the mistress wanted to enter the house? Why are you here so early? Unwoo took out the flowers from the back seat. The bouquet was too big and blocked his chest. It looked very heavy. However, the boy was so beautiful that he looked like a peach blossom. I'm here to deliver flowers to Yi-er. Jiang Zhao spat in his heart. Bah, that's my wife. King make it sound like she's the real deal. If it wasn't for the fact that this was not the time to quarrel with his wife, he would have chopped you up. Oh, I'll just bring it home for her. You've spent a lot. Jiang Zhao emphasized the words, bring it home. He took the flowers from Unwoo like a gentleman and looked at Unwoo meaningfully. Xiunwu, what trick are you playing? Unwoo shrugged innocently. Then I'll have to trouble you, Zhao bro. Then she turned around and got into the car. She looked at Jiang Zhao with a smile in her pure eyes. I'll ask Yi-er later if he likes it. Jiang Zhao almost vomited blood. Her. That was his wife, and he still had to bring flowers upstairs for his mistress. His mistress was much more magnanimous than him. In Jiang Zhao's mind he had never used so many vulgarities before. However, during this period of time he had used the most vulgarities. Suppression. Just as he turned around and went upstairs his phone rang. It was Zhuang Yichen. Hello. Brother Zhao, how long are you going to stay in my house? What's wrong? I can stay as long as I want. Jiang Zhao thought about it. That's not right. What he said was too ominous. Stay for a few more days. How many days is a few days? 2 days or the 9 heavens? I'm buying it for you. What are you shouting for? I'm not short of money, so why should I sell it to you? You're not short of houses, so why do you care how long I stay? Xiaoye likes to stay at 9th Mansion. Then get Xiaoye to come over and stay with Yi-er. She could help him keep an eye on his enemies. Zhuang Yichen was stunned for a moment. What kind of bro was this? If Xiaoye went over to stay with Yi-er, then where would he stay? Jiang Zhao said confidently, that's right. What about you? Zhuang Yichen was annoyed. You're going too far. Jiang Zhao laughed. You're being ridiculous. Zhuang Yichen scolded again, you're being unreasonable. Jiang Zhao said, haha, you're making trouble out of nothing. Zhuang Yichen was infuriated by Jiang Zhao. Who's making trouble out of nothing? Jiang Zhao was in a bad mood because of Unwoo. Of course he wouldn't let go of the chance to anger Zhuang Yichen to death. Of course it's you. You said that you'd let me stay in the house and now you want to take it back. What kind of logic is that? You're making trouble out of nothing. If that's not making trouble out of nothing, then what is it? Zhuang Yichen had only wanted to call Jiang Zhao to discuss the matter. Xiaoye kept grumbling that she was going to get married, but she was still living in her own house. She felt that her status hadn't improved since she couldn't stay in her husband's house. She even said that living in Qingfeng Garden was making her intestines knot. Living here made her feel like she was an outsider. He said that they should move back to the suburbs, but she said that he usually stayed at 9th Mansion and that she liked living there too. Seeing that Xiaoye was drawing a blueprint and saying that she wanted to design a wedding dress for him, Zhuang Yichen made up his mind and started arguing again. The house is mine. I don't want to let you stay in it. What's wrong? Jiang Zhao laughed out loud. Hugging a large bouquet of flowers, he shook his head. Hearing that Zhuang Yichen was angry made him feel a little better. I want to stay. What's wrong with you? Chase me away if you dare. Xiaoye snatched the phone and said to Jiang Zhao, why are you arguing so early in the morning? Are you guys gay? You're like a married couple and you're even bickering? Xiaoye had become his wife, and her tone was arrogant. In the past, she wouldn't have dared to snatch Zhuang Yichen's phone to talk to Jiang Zhao. No matter how bold she looked, she was still afraid of Zhuang Yichen. But now that she was going to be Mrs. Zhuang, she should have some dignity, shouldn't she? Zhuang Yichen pulled Xiaoye into his arms and bit her ear. My dear wife, speak louder. We want our house back. Xiaoye's face heated up and her heart warmed. She was about to fight with Jiang Zhao, but the call was already hung up. When she called again, Jiang Zhao shamelessly turned off his phone. Xiaoye grabbed Zhuang Yichen's collar and shouted, Jiang Zhao, that bastard doesn't play by the rules. He's shameless. Hubby, you have to avenge me. Okay. We'll go back tonight and chase him out. Xiaoye said, Okay. Husband and wife are of one mind. Zhuang Yichen added, so sharp that it can cut through gold. Zhuang Yichen hugged Xiaoye even tighter. Haven't you seen a diamond ring that you like? No. Zhuang Yichen kissed Xiaoye's neck. Why don't we order one? We'll buy a ring after my wedding dress is done. Okay, you can decide on this. Jiang Zhao hung up the phone. *CK he was so angry in the morning. Shi Yunwu made him angry, and now Zhuang Yichen and his wife were showing off their love over the phone to provoke him. Was the whole world laughing at him for being alone? Today he didn't knock on the door and didn't pretend to be a gentleman. He just opened the door. He changed his shoes. Yi Er had just finished preparing breakfast when she saw Jiang Zhao come in with a big bouquet of purple and gold roses. She looked unhappy and guessed that it was a gift for Moonwoo. Jiang Zhao walked over and threw the bouquet to Yi Er. With a look of disdain, he said, one bouquet of flowers for $1 million. Remember to ask him to convert it to cash next time. You can use it to supplement your family's expenses. After saying that, he sat down at the dining table like the male owner of the house. He picked up a bowl of porridge and started eating calmly. Yi Er put the flowers on the tea machine in the living room and sent a message to Eunwoo, saying that she liked them very much and that the flowers were very beautiful. She then went to the kitchen and took out some bread and fried eggs for Jiang Zhao. She smiled at Jiang Zhao, who was busy eating. Why are you here so early today? Jiang Zhao snorted. If I didn't come early, would you have gone out for a ride with him? She held the bread in her hand and wrapped Jiang Zhao's favorite side dishes in it. She handed it over. Even if he went out, it was just for a ride. Don't think too much. I told you everything clearly, but you still don't believe me? I already told you that he doesn't have any bad intentions. Jiang Zhao took it as the annoying man downstairs. He took a big bite. I'm here today because I need to talk to you about something. What is it? You have to go to G City with me. Did something happen to Xin Xian again? Yi Er was really worried about that beauty. No, they're getting married soon. Xin Kai wants to go and see Xin Xian. Because of the Qin family, Xin Kai wants me to go with him because we went together last time. Jiang Zhao racked his brains to make up some nonsense. Xin Kai was indeed in G City and would go there every week, but he didn't invite him to go with him. However, it didn't matter if he wasn't invited. He would make the invitation a reality in a while. In short, it was right not to let Yi Er stay in High City. Shi Yunwu was like a lingering spirit that was a master at picking up girls. When he saw Yi Er hugging those flowers every day, his eyebrows flew up. It's not the wedding, so we don't have to go, right? When it's the wedding, we have to go and attend the ceremony anyway. Isn't it normal for us to go? We're not Xin Xian's family. How can we follow Xin Kai? You're still young. What do you know? Do you think it's just going to see his sister with Shinkai? There are so many things that I can't explain clearly in a short time. I'll tell you slowly on the way. Jiang Zhao felt that it was not a problem for him to fool a woman like Yi Er. He could make it sound more serious, and that stupid little fox could only listen to him obediently. As for an explanation, he really hadn't thought of a good one. Rather than saying that he would tell her slowly on the way, it was better to say that he would think of a way to explain it to her slowly on the way. Just as Jiang Zhao thought, Yi Er really didn't dare to think about it in detail. She didn't understand the benefits and transactions between these families. At least she didn't understand it deeply. It was just like how Jiang Zhao had analyzed why the Qin family didn't help the Han family last time. How would she be able to figure out the mystery behind this? When are we going? Jiang Zhao was delighted. After breakfast you can pack your things. I'll go back and pack my things too. We'll set off immediately. Yi Er looked at the clock on the wall. So soon? Jiang Zhao realized that his lying had reached another level recently. Of course. Why else do you think I'm here so early? It's the weekend. I should be sleeping in. Jiang Zhao used his work speed. After eating, he threw down his bowl and left. He also asked Yi Er to pack her things quickly. When they reached the airport, Jiang Zhao realized that they seemed to be escaping. Yi Er sent a text message to Unwu, saying that she was going to G City. Unwu said that she wanted to have fun. Shinkai was already in G City on Saturday. Jiang Zhao had already told Yi Er in advance to keep it a secret. When they reached the hotel, Jiang Zhao asked Yi Er to accompany Xin Xian and said that he had something to discuss with Shinkai. As a result, Yi Er believed that Jiang Zhao had to come to G City. Although Xin Xian would be considered a suspect if she had to go through legal procedures, she could still move freely in the Pei family. However, everyone knew that the Pei family was powerful in the south. Even if Xin Xian wanted to escape, it would be easier for her to break out of prison. After they left, the Pei family sent a chauffeur to take Yi Er out for a walk. Yi Er and Xin Xian sat in the back. Xin Xian was more silent. This was different from the Xin Xian that Yi Er remembered. Xin Xian had been in the limelight for the past 2 years in Haiqing. She was known as a playboy and changed boyfriends one after another. They were either playboys or third-rate celebrities. Other than those who had good looks, none of them were decent. However, at this moment, Xin Xian was sitting quietly by the window. She was completely different from the beautiful women in the headlines who wore heavy makeup and showed off their waists. Her black hair was tied up behind her head. She was as still as a puddle of water. She looked like a weak woman who could not withstand the wind. The orange sunlight shone on her face. On her porcelain-white skin, her thin hair glowed faintly. When she looked out of the window, her side profile was so beautiful that it could not be imagined. Yi Er could not help but swallow his saliva. He patted his chest and asked, "Where do you want to go?" Xin Xian stared out of the window and said faintly, "Accompany me to get a tattoo." There was no discussion. She wanted to get a tattoo. Yi Er had a Persian chrysanthemum tattoo on his ankle before. He did not know what Xin Xian wanted to get. Xin Xian turned her head and smiled faintly. "I want to get a ring tattoo." Yi Er frowned slightly. "Ring?" "Yes, ring." Xin Xian turned her head away again. Her voice was choked. Hongcha 866. Chapter 724. In the tattoo parlor, a delicate and white hand lay in the hands of the tattoo artist as he drew the image that Xin Xian wanted. It was an ordinary ring. The ring was decorated with a single or two connected pieces of yezi. Yi Er asked, "What does this represent?" Xin Xian looked at Yi Er and smiled. "A 4-leaf clover. 1 piece of yezi is a prayer. 2 pieces of yezi is hope." She prayed that the man who was beaten into a vegetative state by her would wake up. She hoped that he would be the same as before he fell down. Yi Er didn't ask any more questions. She already understood. Knowing that the 10 fingers were connected to the heart, Xin Xian still wanted the tattoo to be deeper. Yi Er was a little sad on the day that she accompanied Xin Xian. She didn't know Xin Xian well, but she could tell that even if Xin Xian smiled at her, it was very forced. Hence, Yi Er didn't say anything after that. She felt that she was a little redundant by Xin Xian's side. On the contrary, Xin Xian had to squeeze out a smile from time to time in order to accommodate her. Yi Er remembered that Pei Li said that they could go and look at the rings. If they liked them, they could buy them. Yi Er asked if they wanted to look at the rings. Xin Xian said that she already had a ring. Xin Xian raised her hand and looked at the sky. Her eyes were sharp. Even from the corner of her eyes, one could feel her determination. It was as if she was determined to cut off all paths of retreat for herself. Looking at the ring tattooed on her ring finger, Xin Xian said solemnly, "My ring will never be taken off in this lifetime unless I chop off my hand." Ye was stunned on the spot. Xin Xian's words tugged at her heart. That night they had dinner at Pei Li's house. Pei Li wanted Jiang Zhao to stay in the house, but Jiang Zhao refused and took Ye back to the hotel. Still in the car, Ye's phone rang. She opened her handbag. It was a call from Unwu. Ye picked it up. Unwu. Jiang Zhao's eyes darkened. "Ye, when are you coming back?" "Ah." It had been less than a day and he was exhausted. He wanted to go back and sleep. Jiang Zhao was a little thick-skinned. He stuck his face close to Ye's phone and listened to the call. "Xianyo, that fellow, he just wouldn't give up. Grandpa is taking me abroad for heart surgery the day after tomorrow. There will be a ball tomorrow night and he wants to invite you." Ye was overjoyed. "Have you found a suitable heart?" "Yes, I found it." "Yes." Ye said, "Yes, tomorrow? I'll definitely be there." Ye hung up the phone and her eyes curved into crescents. When Jiang Zhao heard the contents of the phone call, his nerve endings started to spew fire. "Yunyi, I've let you do as you please for so long. You've had enough. You're having a good time two-timing, aren't you?" Ye put the phone back into her handbag. "I'm not. I told you before that Unwu is just my friend. You're the only one who didn't believe me. Is there a need to be like this for friends? When Zhuang Yichen was in trouble, didn't you also act quickly? How can it be the same? You and Xiunwu are of the opposite sex. How can it be different? There are people of the same sex who are together. I didn't even suspect that there was something going on between you and Zhuang Yichen. Besides, we're still divorced." Jiang Zhao felt suffocated by Ye's words. He really wanted to take a hammer and knock her out. In Yunwu's art studio at the Shi residence in Haiqing, Unwu sat in front of his desk. There was a stack of letters and envelopes on the table. He folded the letters and put them into different envelopes one by one. At this moment, Shi Jinqian walked in with a glass of warm water in one hand and a small white medicine box in the other. His eyes were full of heartache. "Unwu, take the medicine." Yunwu's face was a little pale. "Grandpa, didn't we go to America around this time last year? And then was there too. We even took some photos together. Where are they? Why are you looking for that? I want to send a photo of me and an NTE when the time comes. If he was no longer around, if he had ever lived in her heart, wouldn't it be better for her to give him her blessings?" Shi Jintian's eyes were slightly red. He handed the water and medicine to Unwu. After watching Unwu take the medicine in front of him, he said, "It's in my study. I'll get it for you later. After your operation, Grandpa will snatch Yunyi away from you and tie her to you for the rest of your life." "Grandpa." Upon hearing Shi Jintian's words, Unwu panicked. "Grandpa, regardless of whether the operation is a success or not, I won't be coming back. You can't disturb her." "What do you mean by whether it's a success or not? It must be a success." Yes, it must be a success. But don't go looking for trouble with Ye. She has her own life." Unwu was so anxious that his face turned even paler. He clutched his chest and was about to slide down. Shi Jintian hurriedly helped Unwu up. "Hurry up and rest early. I promise you, okay?" The next day it was nighttime. The Shi family in the south had invited all of High City's big shots to a banquet. There were many young masters in Mississippi. At the ball, Jiang Zhao clinked glasses with Qin Fian. Looking at the palace-like banquet, Qin Fian teased, "Brother, you're so generous." It's just a civilized dance." Jiang Zhao gritted his teeth as he watched his wife being held around the waist by another man. The bow tie around his neck felt a little tight. He reached out to pull it. "Stop pulling it. Even if you don't wear such a small bow tie, you'll still feel uncomfortable." After Qin Fian said that, he looked at Jiang Zhao's jealous eyes. He couldn't help but burst out laughing. Jiang Zhao kept looking at Ye and Unwu. The steps and rhythm of the waltz turned a boy into a man. They didn't even talk much, they just danced to the music. They had never danced together before, so how come they didn't step on each other's toes? Was this the legendary tacit understanding? He suddenly remembered Qin Fian's advice. Dancing was the easiest way to develop tacit understanding. ***. As soon as he stepped out, the music stopped. He walked to Ye and Unwu. They were about to speak when Jiang Zhao pulled Ye out of Yunwu's arms with a seemingly gentle smile. Unwu let go and looked at Jiang Zhao's actions with a smile in his eyes. He bowed slightly to Ye in a very gentlemanly manner to express his gratitude. Ye felt a little awkward as she was dragged out by Jiang Zhao. Unwu looked at Ye's obedient manner. He scratched his head and laughed. Since Jiang Zhao cared so much about her, she would definitely be happy in the future. Yi Er was pushed into the car, pulled out of the car, pulled up the stairs and pushed into the house. Yi Er remembered Yunwu's words when he brought her to the dance floor. Why don't you provoke Jiang Zhao a little? You'll definitely like the way he looks when he's jealous of you. A girl should make the man she likes nervous for her. Only then can she satisfy her vanity, right? How did you know? In order to pursue you, I did a lot of research. Yunwu's smile was pure and clean. At this moment she looked at Jiang Zhao's ashen face and thought about Yunwu's words. Something warmed her heart, but she didn't show it. As soon as the door closed, the man pressed against her. When his lips touched hers, there was still a wisp of wine fragrance. The force of his grinding on her lips was hurried and heavy, and the breath coming out of his nose was also heavy. Occasionally he would take a deep breath as if he was panting. The hand that lifted her skirt didn't touch her legs like before. Instead, it went straight for Lessa's sexy underwear and pulled it off. She looked up at him and saw his eyes tighten. There was a dangerous glint in his eyes. The corners of his lips curled up into a naughty smile. Looks like I should satisfy you properly, lest you go around seducing men all day long. Seducing men, don't you think so, my vixen wife? There was an uncontrollable impulse in her body, and her eyes were already rippling with the spring breeze. She skillfully lifted her leg and hooked it around his tight waist, and seductively reached out to unbutton his shirt. She smiled coquettishly and said, "Thank you, Lord Hubby, for your consideration." Hearing the woman call him that, Jiang Zhao's heart skipped a beat. Looking at her watery eyes that were shrouded in love, he couldn't believe why she called him that. He grabbed her hand that was unbuttoning his shirt and asked slowly in a low voice, "Who's your husband?" Yi Er supported her waist and rubbed against Jiang Zhao's body. Her voice was charming. "Isn't it you?" Looking at the woman who looked like she was about to panic, the man grabbed the woman's leg that was hooked around his waist with one hand and unbuckled his belt as he lowered his head to nibble on the woman's neck. The tip of his tongue circled under her sensitive earlobe, and then he used his teeth to scrape her earlobe. He said hoarsely, "Are you only saying that because you want it now?" The woman's hand touched the man's checkered abs and felt as if she had been scalded. All the way down, the desire there had already risen. Looking at its aggressive appearance, one could tell how much that thing wanted to do. "Ah Zhao, haven't we not gone to get a divorce certificate yet?" Jiang Zhao looked at the woman with a sly smile and gritted his teeth. "You 1,000-year-old fox." Right now he wanted nothing more than to press her to the ground and kill her. To think that he had always thought that he had hidden it well. It turned out that she had always known that they were not divorced. Knowing that they were not divorced, she still allowed him to live outside and even let other men pursue her. She even separated from him, causing him to not even know what meat tasted like. This bastard. All the firewood and fire were piled together, just like the man and woman piled together. "Hubby, I was wrong. Please forgive me, then you'll have to serve me well today." After rounds of competition, the television program came to an end. Xiaoye and Yi Er were packing up their belongings. Xiaoye had her assistant around, so she was very free. She patted Yi Er's back. "I can't bear to part with them." "Yeah, me too. I think I have some feelings for them. Next time if there's an opportunity like this, you must call me." Xiaoye shrugged. This time she helped Yi Er with the clothes. Although the money was not much, she was very happy. In the past, Zhuang Yichen had helped her with everything. But this time it was considered her own business, right? "The next time you walk the runway you can do something special. I'll get my dancers to walk the runway. You can dance the tango for an evening gown show." Xiaoye hugged Yi Er and kissed her on the cheek. "Good idea, Yi Er. You're getting more and more business-minded, ha." The two of them were now living in the 9th mansion. When they had competitions they would be at the same place, so they always went out together and went home together. The culprit had not been caught and there was no news at all. Jiang Zhao never dared to let his guard down. The bodyguards were still following them, so Yi Er did not dare to say anything. After saying goodbye to Xiaoye, they prepared to go home. Attention, Songshu 566. Chapter 725. She retrieved the letter from the mailbox downstairs. When she saw the American postmark, Yi Er was a little excited. She started to open the letter even before she reached home. She could recognize Yunwu's handwriting at a glance. Yunwu had practiced calligraphy before and his handwriting was very beautiful. The handwriting was elegant and masculine, and it was very similar to Yunwu's. Looking at these words, Yi Er felt that Yunwu was smiling at her. "Yi Er, hello, it's been 3 weeks since I last wrote to you, right? My surgery was a success. I'm just telling you. Are you very happy for me? Your show should be over by now, right? How is it? Do you feel a sense of accomplishment? Ann has also been learning to dance recently. I keep telling her that it's too late for her to learn, but she says that girls should know how to twist and turn. I really don't know whether to laugh or cry. I think this girl is really a little annoying. She keeps pestering me to watch her dance. I feel that I need to write more recently. And doesn't like it when I call you. I think I'll just let her be. Don't reply to me if I believe you. I'm afraid she'll be angry. Ye ran into the house and called Jiang Zhao. Zhao, did you know? Unwu seems to be in a relationship with an An. What nonsense are you talking about? It's true. He wrote me a letter. His words are full of love for An. You're so happy that there's one less person who has a crush on you? How so? Unwu has someone he likes. I'm very happy. Jiang Zhao also heaved a sigh of relief. If you're free in the afternoon, come and pick me up from work. Okay. Yunwu's letters came quickly. Sometimes they were sent by international express delivery, and sometimes they were sent by post. The postmarks were dated from 3 to 5 days to 2 to 3 weeks. Ye received the 9th letter from America. Ye, hello, Haicheng must be very hot recently, right? It's already autumn, right? I'm fine. After the surgery and didn't allow me to go out. I was surrounded by servants every day, so I was a little annoyed. Today I went out with An and Grandpa to play. I wanted to go to a crowded place, so An made the decision to go to the Empire State Building. She even took a lot of photos. Don't you think An is becoming more and more like a child? After coming to America, she was much happier. Grandpa liked her more and more now. She was actually a good girl, right? I'm going to sleep. A young and mature girl like you should learn more from the current An. Sleep early or you'll grow old quickly. Ye looked at the three of them in the photo. Shi Jintian stood in the middle, while Unwu and An stood beside him. An's smile was indeed a lot wider than when she was in Haicheng. Was it because she felt happy now? Ye looked at the photo and felt a pang in her heart. She didn't know why, but she started to cry. Silly, shouldn't Unwu be happy now that he's happy? Seriously. Ye put the letter back into the envelope and took it upstairs. There was a big jewelry box on the dressing table. She poured out all the jewelry and put Yunwu's letter into it like a treasure. Ye, Grandpa said that he still likes the sky in Canada and that there are fewer people. It's more suitable for him to live here when he's old, so he's taking over all the businesses in the country. We won't be going back in the future. An has been getting more and more petty recently. Yesterday I just mentioned that I wanted to write to you and she got into a big fight with me. I think it's better that I don't write to you anymore. Her temper is getting worse and worse. Sai, I actually didn't dare to tell An that I made a promise to you in our next lives. I was afraid she'd be angry. Ye, although I won't write to you anymore, I still wish you happiness and that you'll always be beautiful, just like when I first met you. Sure enough, from then on Ye did not receive any more letters from Unwu. She looked at the jewelry box that was not full a few times and felt that something was missing. There were a total of 13 letters in the jewelry box. Only the first Unwu said, Ye, it's my first time in America. I miss you very much. After that, it was always an long and short. At that time, in a foreign country at the Seattle Lakeside Cemetery in America, there was an old man. Although he did not look thin and weak, he had a head of white hair. The girl standing beside him was dressed in plain black. She was holding orange flowers in her hands. Her expression was blank, but her cold eyes were filled with tears. There was a photo on the tombstone. The boy's eyes were pure and clean. The corners of his mouth were only slightly curved, but it was as if he was instantly bathed in sunlight. When the old man bent down and reached out his hand, his whole body was trembling. His wrinkled hand touched the photo on the tombstone. He choked out, Unwu, Grandpa didn't find trouble with her. Are you relieved? It was just that this old man's choked voice made the girl who originally looked like a girl burst into tears. She still remembered how heartless Unwu was when he chased her away. But he did that only to protect her. If she had known earlier that there was no suitable heart, even if she had to die, she would have been willing to exchange her life for his. How was she going to live alone in the future? Shi Jintian sat on the ground, hugged the tombstone and kowtowed to it. Tears fell drop by drop. What fell was his heart's blood. He had read every letter that Unwu had written to Ye, every sentence. According to his grandson's request and time, he had sent the letters from America one by one. He still remembered that his grandson had snuggled in his arms and quietly talked to him for the entire night. In this life, Unwu had never said so much. Ever since he changed his heart at the age of 8, he had never said so much. Grandpa, let me tell you. Back then, I went there to draw because I wanted to see Yi-er. At that time, I didn't know that feeling was like. I was so slow, too slow. I've seen many of her expressions. Happy, sad, sly, disappointed, hopeless, hopeful. In short, I've seen many of them. Grandpa, I didn't know that being able to see a person's emotions was because of excessive attention, and excessive attention was because I liked her too much. I liked her too much. Grandpa, in the past 20 years, the happiest time of my life was when I was drawing on that street, and when I came back from the grasslands, I wrote her cards and sent her flowers every day. I still remember that she pitied me and thought that I was a poor artist who couldn't afford the rent. She gave me the money to pay the rent so that I could live a better life. She said that boys mature later and can still grow up at 18 to 19 years old. She didn't even know my name back then, and she actually gave me money randomly. Grandpa, since I was young, you taught me to be wary of people and not to trust anyone casually because anyone around you could harm you. But at that time I really believed her. I believed that she was a kind girl and that she wasn't sent by my enemies to harm me. She was purely afraid that I would suffer. Grandpa, I really believed that she was actually very kind. I'm thinking that at that time she probably liked me a little because I felt that she wasn't someone who was very compassionate. She was actually very greedy and stingy. Grandpa, I think that at that time she probably liked me a little, right? That day Shi Jintian had been holding Unwu in his arms the whole time. Unwu was lying on his chest, and the clothes on his chest were extremely wet and sticky. All that was left were Yunwu's tears. He hugged Yunwu's head and said, "Good grandson, Grandpa believes that Yi-er liked you back then. It's just that at that time you guys didn't understand." Unwu sighed softly and said, "Luckily I didn't understand." Luckily, the old man hugging the tombstone sat there until sunset. Then he slowly looked up and said, you should learn to manage the business. Don't forget that your surname is also Shi." And nodded heavily. "Okay." The setting sun stretched the silhouettes of the old man and the young girl in the cemetery, cutting into a lonely silhouette. The late autumn maple leaves in Haicheng were like fire. The pure white wedding gown trailed on the maple leaves and the colors were distinct. Hearing the photographer skillfully teasing the model, the man wrapped his arms around the woman's waist and carried her up. Their smiles followed the click-click sound of the shutter. They ran. Yi-er had her wish fulfilled and had her wedding photo shoot taken. From time to time, she would run over to the photographer to take a look at the photos in his camera. The photographer looked at the photos on the camera screen with satisfaction and zoomed in. "Don't look anymore. She's definitely more compatible and beautiful than a professional model." Yi-er blushed for a moment and turned to look at Jiang Zhao. His suit hugged his muscular body and his handsome face. Needless to say, he looked very attractive and annoying. Jiang Zhao's gaze landed softly on the woman. "How much longer do you want to take?" "What do you mean by how much longer do I want to take? Don't you want to take photos with me? Are you annoyed with me again? How long have we been married? You're already annoyed with me, aren't you? I just want to take a wedding photo shoot, and you're already annoyed with me, aren't you? Then how are we going to survive for the next few decades?" Jiang Zhao stared blankly at the woman who was looking at him with her hands on her hips. In the end, he hugged her waist and kissed her on the cheek. The smell of affection was so overwhelming. "I think the night view in Haicheng is not bad. Why don't we take a night shot? Dawn is not bad either. Why don't we take a dawn shot? Tomorrow's weather might be better than today's. Why don't we go overseas and take a photo shoot? It'll be fresh. Anyway, we can just continue with the shoot." Yi-er's legs went weak. Was this man trying to torture her to death? She turned to look at the photographer. Sir, are we done with this group?" "Yes, this is the last group." "Then hurry up and finish it. My mouth is stiff from smiling." Jiang Zhao couldn't help but laugh. Everyone in the Qin family was preparing to go to Jiangzhou, which was also a bustling city in the east. This time they were going to hold the wedding ceremony for Yi-er and Jiang Zhao. Old Master Jiang urged them again and again, but Jiang Zhao kept finding excuses and reasons. It wasn't that he didn't want to go back for the wedding, but he had to remove the barrier in Yi-er's heart before he could go back. On the private jet, Qin Fian was flipping through the newspaper. He didn't seem very happy. Instead, he kept complaining, "What kind of date is this? He knew that I was going on a business trip at this time, yet he chose to hold the wedding at this time. What the hell?" Jiang Zhao couldn't be bothered with him. He hugged Yi-er like he was about to be the groom. When they first got married at the Qin family's banquet, he didn't feel this way at all. At that time his heart was burping. Fei Yu was holding a novel and reading it quietly. After Qin Fian said this, she gently picked up the fruit tea on the table and took a sip. Brother, is your sweetheart in Xingzhou town? What? Don't you always go to Xingzhou town at this time of the year? What nonsense are you talking about? Qin Fian opened the newspaper again and read it leisurely. Fei Yu placed the fruit tea on the table. Her black hair was like satin, and she was wearing a white round-necked t-shirt. She didn't look fancy at all, but when paired with her quiet and beautiful face, it made people feel comfortable no matter how they looked at it. A young girl's lips always had a seductive shade of pink. When she licked her lips, the light on them was like jelly. She smiled gently and hugged the book to her chest. She took a deep breath and looked at Qin Fian's face that was covered by the newspaper. I'm not talking nonsense. There's no plane from High City to Starfield Town. Brother, you drive there every time. I'm not stupid. The toll in your drawer has never stopped, and you only keep the toll receipts to Starfield Town. Isn't it because you want to commemorate something? Welfare Songshu 566. Chapter 726. Qin Fei Yu. Qin Fian threw the newspaper aside and stood up to grab Fei Yu. You damn thing, how dare you rummage through my drawer? Fei Yu jumped up and ran towards Jiang Zhao. Ye quickly got out of Jiang Zhao's arms and hid in Jiang Zhao's embrace. Jiang Zhao circled Fei Yu and glared at Qin Fian. How old are you? Do you still want to hit Fei Yu in front of so many people? As soon as he said that, Qin Rongfang's face darkened. He sat on the wide seat and slapped the armrest. How dare you hit your sister? Try touching a single strand of her hair. If you dare to touch a single strand of her hair, I'll throw you out of the plane today. Qin Fian felt wronged. What was going on? It was clearly not his fault. That little girl had a pure appearance and actually did things like peeping into his privacy. Now these people were actually helping her. This was too much. With Jiang Zhao's protection, Fei Yu sat on Jiang Zhao's lap and did not get off. She hugged Jiang Zhao's neck and looked at Qin Fian with a little grievance. Brother's words are really interesting. You've rummaged through my drawer a lot and peeked at the love letters other boys wrote to me. I was just returning the favor. Qin Fian saw that Fei Yu had found a backer. Now he recognized the girl's true nature. Good for you, Qin Fei Yu. If I hadn't dealt with those crooked things of yours, would your grades be so good now? That's really funny. Boys chasing me is crooked? Then is it proper for you to like men? Great, this fire burned Qin Fian again. Especially at Jiang Zhao's wedding, how could Qin Rongfang not be anxious? Qin Fian. You still have the face to talk about your sister. Go sit in your own seat. Qin Fian looked around. Some people were smiling at him maliciously. Why did they feel like they had fallen into a trap? Just as he sat down and prepared to ignore the outside world and focus on reading the tabloids, Fei Yu's gentle and soft young girl's voice faintly drifted over. I don't know if Big Brother wants to buy land in Starfield Town. Looking at the toll receipts, there are at least dozens of them. He goes there at least a few times a year. What kind of big project is that? Why hasn't it been settled yet? Qin Fian shook open the newspaper and said indifferently, Qin Fei Yu, be careful. There will be snakes all over the floor when you sleep tonight. Fei Yu was so scared that his face turned white. He was so scared that tears came out of his eyes. I. Hearing Fei Yu's frightened voice, Qin Fian had just chuckled twice when his calf was suddenly hit by a stick. Seeing that it was Qin Rongfang walking over, he picked up the stick and hit his leg. You clearly know that your sister is timid, yet you still scare her. If you scare her again, she'll be afraid of strangers in the future. She's timid? Come on. I can't see that at all. Bam. Another hit. Although it wasn't heavy, it still represented Qin Rongfang's attitude. Ye took out a handkerchief to wipe Fei Yu's tears. It's okay. Your brother is just scaring you. He wouldn't do such a thing. Thinking of the house full of snakes, Fei Yu was so immersed that goosebumps appeared all over her body. Zhao Gij and Sister Yun are the best. My brother is a bastard. This group of people was Jiang Zhao, Yi Qin Fian, Fei Yu and Qin Rongfang. Other than the servants, there were a total of 5 people. Because the others had not arranged things properly, they were a step late. It was quite lively along the way. At the airport exit. The first time Yi saw Jiang Zhao's younger brother, Jiang Feng, he was shocked by his enthusiasm. He was 186 centimeters tall. Although he was dressed fashionably, he was definitely not childish. His buzz-cut hair gave him a unique personality. The smile on his handsome face was always a little mischievous. When he opened his arms to hug them, it was as if there was a burst of youth burning in him. Jiang Feng had only returned to the country for less than a month. Ye thought that handsome men were used to being unrestrained overseas. But later on Jiang Zhao told her that Jiang Feng had always been like this. Only then did Ye understand the saying, the dragon has 9 sons each with his own merits. His uncle's son Jiang Rui, who was the eldest son of the Jiang family, brought his wife and son Jiang Mian to the airport to pick them up. Ye carried Dianmian in his arms. Sister, Dianmian is pressing down again. Don't carry him. Let him walk on his own. Once this bad boy touches a beauty he refuses to get off the bed. He's so annoying. I'm not annoying. Little Dianmian is so cute. Auntie is so cute. Dianmian cupped Ye's face with his chubby hands and kissed him. Gosh sister, look at how passionate Dianmian is. Jiang Zhao leaned over to Ye's ear. Honey, don't be envious. If we work harder in bed at night we can make one too. Ye's face flushed red as though it was on fire. Jiang Zhao had his own house in Jiang district. He had told Jiang Feng in advance to help him get someone to tidy it up. Hence, the Qin family stayed in Jiang Zhao's small villa instead of staying in a hotel. It was very lively. Usually, even in Haiqing, it was impossible for a family to stay in one house like this. Qin Rongfang was very happy. On the first day the Qin family and the Qin family had dinner together. They almost stayed up all night because men always had endless things to talk about. It was the same on the second day. On the third day they felt that it was too boring. That night Ye and Fei Yu both wanted to go to the beach to play. They didn't want to trouble Jiang Zhao and Qin Fian, so they discussed with Jiang Zhao and Qin Fian that they would drive there. Qin Rongfang wasn't interested in the beach. Moreover, his schedule was very fixed. He didn't want to go with the youngsters. The waves crashed against the rocks. Wave after wave they retreated and came back again. Fei Yu pulled Ye and asked, why is there no barbecue at the beach? Where did you see that there must be barbecue at the beach? Fei Yu was a little disappointed. I saw it on the internet. I thought it would be very interesting. The waves retreated and came back again. Ye and Fei Yu looked over. There was a white thing that didn't seem to be retreating. Was it a rock? How could a rock be white? Even a shell couldn't be that big? A person. A dead person. There was actually a dead person lying on the beach. Brother. Jiang Zhao. Fei Yu and Ye took a few steps back and screamed. Jiang Zhao and Qin Fian were shocked by the two women's voices. They were originally chatting about some business and the latest situation at a distance from the two women. At this moment they rushed toward the two women like two arrows. Jiang Zhao and Qin Fian didn't seem to be afraid of the dead body. Jiang Zhao moved Ye and Fei Yu further away and observed quietly. Another row of waves came and hit the dead body. The waves retreated again. He lifted his trousers with both hands and squatted down. Qin Fian also squatted down. He turned on the flashlight function of his mobile phone and shone it at the dead body lying on the beach. Under the bright light they could finally see clearly. The white t-shirt was rolled up by the waves and the waist was exposed. There was a large area of bruises. It looked very thin. Pulling the shirt up a little, the entire back was covered with bruises and bruises caused by heavy blows. The arms, the back of the neck, and the places with wounds had been soaked white and the wounds were swollen. Fei Yu had never seen a dead person before. This was the first time she saw a back covered with bruises. She was so scared that her eyes were about to fall out. Ye covered Fei Yu's eyes. Fei Yu couldn't help but look. Call the police. It's probably a murder. Jiang Zhao shook his head. Qin Fian flipped the body over and curiously put his finger on a face that was also covered with bruises. He put his finger to the nostrils. Brother, it's still breathing. Hearing this, Fei Yu ran over and bent down to grab Qin Fian's clothes. Brother, if it's still breathing, hurry and send it to the hospital. If we send it to the police, they'll just do it casually. When the time comes, it'll definitely die. It's not a man to not save someone. Qin Fian tilted his head and glared at Fei Yu. The sea breeze blew Fei Yu's black hair up like a veil floating in the wind. You haven't learned anything from Grandpa. That's not how you should be a Buddhist. By meddling in other people's business, you're inviting trouble. This is murder. Do you know that it's murder? Look at Grandpa, I'm kind and charitable, but have I ever casually saved someone who was about to be murdered? Fei Yu tugged at Jiang Zhao again. She was usually very gentle, but now she was anxious. Brother Zhao, don't you think we should send him to the hospital if it's still breathing? Look at how badly he's injured. If we throw him to the police, what if they don't care because they're afraid of trouble? You're the mayor. You're an official. How can you be as cold-blooded as my brother? Jiang Zhao's job was different from Qin Fian's after all. He stood up and took out his cell phone. When he made the call, he said, "Let's send him to the hospital and then call the police. Besides, I was the one who called the police. If he's breathing, we have to think of a way to save him. I'll give brother a call. He has a comrade named Lu Zheng." Qin Fian stood up and laughed. "Aha, the key is that we can use brother's name to get a discount or renege on the debt." Jiang Zhao rolled his eyes at Qin Fian. "You don't have to constantly remind me that you're an unscrupulous businessman." Although Fei Yu wanted to save him, she didn't dare to go over and take a look. She just held Yi Er's hand and was still a little scared. It didn't affect anything because of the rescue. After the patient was sent to the hospital, no one cared about him anymore. The Jiang family's second grandson was getting married. Old Master Jiang personally made a phone call and held a banquet. The Jiang family was a famous family in the East. They had a strong political background and strong commercial capital. Old Master Jiang was highly respected in the entire East. Those who could be invited by him were naturally important figures. For a time, all the important figures in the East gathered in Jiang district. Those who didn't receive an invitation but only heard the news also came uninvited. The five-star hotel under Jiang Zhao's name had already emptied all the rooms near the hotel for a week when Jiang Zhao decided to hold the banquet. They didn't accept any reservations and made proper arrangements for all the guests. Everything was taken care of. On the contrary, Jiang Zhao and Yi Er had nothing to do other than trying on their own gowns. Jiang Zhao and Xiang Wan were drinking tea and letting Xiang Wan take Yi Er out shopping. "How is it? Brother is very generous this time, isn't he? I won't take a single cent from you." Jiang Zhao didn't thank him. Instead, he became even more aggressive. "Hey, but you still have to give me a red packet." "Red packet? Last time when you held your engagement in Haiqing, I gave you a big red packet. A bank card worth 1 million yuan. This fellow wants to snatch my money again? You said it's an engagement. This time it's my wedding. Isn't it still a wedding?" Jiang Zhao sipped his tea lazily and explained slowly, "There are silver weddings and golden weddings. An engagement and a grand wedding are different." "What? Eldest young master, you're the famous eldest young master in Jiang district. How can you bear to give your younger brother a red packet?" Jiang Rui smiled coquettishly. "Eldest young master is called by others, not by family members. It has nothing to do with you. So, I don't have money but I can give you my life." Ad. Hongcha 866. Chapter 727. Jiang Zhao leaned over but there was no one around. Still, he deliberately looked around. "Brother, I remember very clearly what you gave Su Ling in the past and where you went to eat. Also, I remember that because Su Ling liked the lake crabs in High City, you called me early and asked me to order them, keep them in ice and fly them over to you from High City as soon as possible." Jiang Zhao sighed. "Although I know that you and sister-in-law are in love now, look at how bored she is. I'm bored too. I really want to chat with her. Sister-in-law trusts you. She definitely won't let her imagination run wild. Just treat it as if nothing happened and talk about the past to relieve her boredom." Jiang Zhao glared at Jiang Rui. "Why are you so insidious? Aren't you afraid of retribution for doing something so immoral on your wedding day?" Jiang retorted. Jiang Zhao shrugged. "Anyway, it won't kill you. Look at you. It's as if you want to eat me." Jiang Rui said, "It's 100,000 this time. It's a dream if you want another million." "Brother, there's a policy in High City recently. It's about hotels. It's a support for 7-star hotels." Jiang Zhao paused. Jiang Rui spat at Jiang Zhao. "Vampire. 1 million. Deal." "Thanks, brother. I'm going to pick up my wife. Enjoy your tea." Jiang Zhao stood up happily. He didn't care about Jiang Rui's 1 million red packet. For him, 1 million was just a number. It was mainly because he missed the fun of fighting with Jiang Rui since childhood. He looked forward to Jiang Rui coming back to bite him in 2 days. Then he would fight back. Just thinking about it made him happy. When Jiang Zhao walked out and closed the door, Jiang Rui held the teacup and laughed. 2 days later, Jiang Zhao received a call from Lu Zheng, informing him that the patient had woken up. However, he refused to speak when questioned by the police. There was no problem with his vocal cords, so the police wanted him to go over and ask him in detail about the situation. Jiang Zhao and Yi Er were very busy. Tomorrow was the wedding banquet. Although they had nothing to do, just the things they had to prepare were enough to give them a headache. Therefore, Qin Fian brought Fei Yu to Lu Zheng's hospital. The condition of the ward was very good. As Jiang Zhao was the one who informed him that he had to think of a way to save the patient, he might be useful to Jiang Zhao's political future in the future. Therefore, Lu Jing arranged for a high-class VIP ward. The boy looked to be around 17 to 18 years old. He was wearing a hospital gown. He was clearly the victim and there were bruises on his face. His hair was messy but he didn't look disheveled at all. Instead, he had an indescribable air of nobility. He propped himself up with a pillow behind him and stared coldly at the wall. The bruises on his face were greenish with a tinge of yellow, but they were almost gone. Qin Fian and Fei Yu propped themselves up on stools and sat at the end of the bed. The policeman held a pen and asked when the parties involved were awake. "Mr. Qin, what was the situation when you discovered the victim?" "We were walking by the beach. It was my sister and sister-in-law who discovered him first." "Please describe the situation in detail." "It was the same as what I told you the last time. He was lying on the beach with many injuries on his body. At that time we wanted to call the police because we were worried that someone might have murdered him. But you didn't call the police immediately." Qin Fian looked at the serious policeman in amusement. How boring. What was he doing here? He was asking meaningless questions. He asked the same questions the last time and now he was asking again. "My sister said that she was still angry and wanted to save him first. She was worried that if we called the police, those who could live would be tortured to death. Therefore we were more assured that we would pay for sending him to the hospital. My sister said that we couldn't leave him in the lurch." The policeman's expression changed. Fei Yu tugged at the corner of Qin Fian's clothes and said timidly, "Brother, if you say that, what if they take revenge on me? After all, we're in Jiang district and we're not familiar with the place. With the old master of the Jiang family and the eldest young master of Jiang district backing you up, what are you afraid of? Although we're only in-laws with the Jiang family, we're still legal citizens. We've done a good deed. Why should we be afraid of the police's revenge? Fei Yu, you shouldn't think of the police like that." After Qin Fian finished speaking, he raised his eyebrows and glanced at the policeman who was about to explode. Sure enough, when he heard that he was in-laws with the Jiang family, the policeman immediately became quiet. When he took the statement, the seriousness on his face lessened. "Mr. Qin is right. How is that possible?" Fei Yu said, "Oh." Then he leaned closer to Qin Fian. After the incident on the plane, Qin Fian wanted to pinch Fei Yu. This guy was really a tyrant at home. Once he was outside he was afraid of strangers. Now he knew that his brother was reliable? Heartless little thing. The policeman looked at the boy who was sitting there motionlessly. "The injuries on your body were found to be caused by a blunt object. Do you still remember the scene at that time?" The boy didn't turn to look at the policeman. Instead he stared at the wall and looked at Fei Yu. Although his eyes were as cold as before, they didn't blink. Fei Yu kept leaning on Qin Fian's side. But no matter what the policeman said, the boy sitting on the bed didn't speak. "Where are you from? What's your name? Who's in your family? What a headache. You don't even say a word. Where should I send you? Should I send you to the reception center?" Fei Yu raised his head at this time. The boy's gaze softened, revealing an undisguised sadness and pity. His eyes lowered as if he was begging. The boy's hand that was currently on an 4 drip was placed on the thin blanket, his 10 fingers slender and beautiful. The contours of his face looked like they had been carved and scraped by a thin razor. If it weren't for the bruises on his face, how beautiful would he be? Fei Yu swallowed. "Brother, why don't we take him back? It's not like there's one more person to eat anyway, right? He's also homeless. When he remembers, we'll find the police." The policeman immediately wanted to throw away a burden. "That's the best. Qin Fian stood up. "No." He took Fei Yu's hand and said coldly to the policeman, "We've already told you everything we know. Let's go." Fei Yu was dragged out by Qin Fian. When they reached the corridor, Qin Fian scolded Fei Yu. "What's wrong with your brain? What kind of person is he? How dangerous is he? He was murdered. Murdered, do you understand? Put away that little sympathy of yours that you're showing at any time. When the time comes, you'll cause a lot of trouble for yourself," Fei Yu said. Fei Yu curled her lips and left reluctantly with Qin Fei Yu. The next morning, it was only 5 o'clock, but the old house of the Jiang family was already busy. A wedding was always grander than an engagement. Moreover, in order to show that his wedding was better than Qin Rongfang's, Master Jiang used all means. Jiang Rui was mature, steady and thoughtful. Everything that was assigned to him was done very well. Qin Rongfang said disdainfully, "It's just that the Qin family doesn't run a hotel. What's the big deal?" Translator. WQL Editor. Ali. Master Jiang put on his neat military uniform and hung his Medal of Honor on his chest. Straightening his back, he looked at himself in the mirror and felt very proud. Although the military uniform looked a bit big, his back was straight and majestic. Qin Rongfang sat on the sofa behind Master Jiang. The button-down shirt he wore today was dark red. He had silver hair and snow-white eyebrows, which looked very festive. He sneered disdainfully. What's the big deal? Didn't you just fight when you were young? You only know how to hold on to the past and take advantage of your seniority. Old Master Jiang was so happy that his eyebrows flew up. It's not a big deal, it's not a big deal. My Ruerue is not very promising. He only owns about 100 hotels in the country, and he even has a small company that earns some money a year. What's the big deal? But the people from the famous families in Jiangzhou have to call him young master when they see him. Some people who are older than him have to call him that. Oh, it's really not a big deal. Our Zhao Zhao is not a big deal either. He became the mayor at a young age. In the future, he entered the provincial party committee and the central government. Oh, the position of the Jiang family in the east can't be more stable. When Qin Rongfang heard Master Jiang talking about Jiang Zhao, he was so anxious that he stood up and said loudly, Zhao Zhao was brought up by me. It has nothing to do with you. His surname is Zero Jiang. I can't help it. I really can't do you a favor. The Jiang family has a family tree. If Zhao Zhao has a child in the future, his surname will be Zero Jiang. Do you know that? Qin Rongfang was so anxious that he was trembling. This old fart only knew how to use this matter to rebuke him. Old Master Jiang said in a sarcastic tone, Aya, Fian is amazing. She can compete with our family's Ruerue in business. She looks pretty, but her methods are like a wolf's. In the future, the Qin family's business status in Haiqing goes without saying. As for this, I can't help but admire them. But at the end of the day, they don't touch women. As Chinese, we still pay attention to our roots. Only Xiao is like this. Why do you want to marry Feiyu to the Pei family in the south? You should have kept Feiyu as a grandson-in-law. At least leave him with the surname Qin. Qin Rongfang was directly angered by Master Jiang on the big day. His eyes rolled back and he was about to fall back. Master Jiang's expression changed. He hurriedly strode over and supported Qin Rongfang's back. Looking at Qin Rongfang's trembling lips, he slowly laid him flat on the sofa. Although he was old, Qin Rongfang's body was very light. Thinking that everyone was old, Master Jiang's heart ached. Old Qin. Old Qin. I was just joking, old Qin. Qin Rongfang's breathing was uneven. You old fart, you want to anger me to death. Master Jiang was so regretful that his intestines turned green. They had been old friends for decades, but he was always poking at each other's shortcomings. At home, he taught his descendants to be open-minded. Why couldn't he do it when it came to Qin Rongfang? Old Qin, I was just joking. We've been fighting for so many years. When have we not been like this? I'll call the doctor right away. Don't call to me. My Qin family has no descendants. I don't want to live. Call the doctor. I don't want treatment. Qin Rongfang slowly closed his eyes. Tears fell from Master Jiang's eyes. Old Qin, don't think too much. I told Zhao Zhao's child to be born with the surname Qin. You were the one who raised Zhao Zhao, so I shouldn't steal your credit. The first child born with Zhao Zhao should have the surname Qin after you. It should be surnamed Qin. It's all thanks to you. I don't believe you. You old fox. I don't believe you. I won't cooperate with the doctor. Little Lu. Little Lu. Master Jiang quickly called Mama Lu. She hurriedly called Mama Lu over. Go, go, go. Go find Zhao Zhao. Mama Lu immediately turned around and ran to find Jiang Zhao. Yi Er had just been picked up by the makeup artist and sent to Jiang Zhao's villa. They were about to go through the process of picking up the bride. When he heard that Qin Rongfang had collapsed, Jiang Zhao threw away the tie in his hand and ran to Master Jiang's room. Old Madam was busy in the backyard and didn't know anything. Welfare Hangcha 866, that you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.